Take a slow breath. Let your shoulders relax. Tonight, I'll guide you into a gentle journey through the early world of the Anglo-Saxons, told in a calm, peaceful way to help your mind drift into rest. Before we begin, if you enjoy relaxing history stories like this, I would be truly happy if you subscribe to support the channel. It helps me continue creating soothing history journeys for you. Thank you. Now, close your eyes just a little and imagine the soft glow of a distant hearth, the faint crackle of warm embers, and the quiet rhythm of night. Let your mind settle. Let everything slow down. The story begins not with a kingdom nor a battle, but with a coastline, a long, gentle stretch of sand facing the misty waters of the North Sea. The waves rise and fall in a steady pattern, as if breathing. A soft inhale as the sea pulls back, a slow exhale as it washes the shore. Centuries ago, long before England as we know it existed, these coastlines were quiet, dotted with scattered communities living simple lives. The Roman Empire, which once ruled the region, was fading away. Its soldiers had departed, its roads were slowly breaking, and the once busy towns had grown silent across the eastern sea. In the lands we now call Germany, Denmark, and the Netherlands, three peoples lived: the Angles, the Saxons, and the Jutes. Tonight, we begin with them, not as warriors or conquerors, but as families, sitting near their fires, listening to wind rolling over the flat northern marshes. Imagine a small Anglo-Saxon village in those early centuries. A cluster of wooden huts with thatched roofs, fires glowing quietly inside, smoke rising lazily into the cool night air, children sleeping, adults finishing the last tasks of the day, the distant bark of a dog, and the gentle hum of the SA. In these lands, life was shaped by rhythm. The rhythm of seasons, the rhythm of tides, the rhythm of survival. Their days began with the pale northern sunrise and ended with the softness of twilight. They farmed small patches of land, raised animals, and built simple wooden halls that served as the center of each community. Inside these halls, people would gather at night, telling stories, offering prayers, sharing food, and listening to the old songs of ancestors, of spirits, of distant journeys, songs passed from voice to voice across generations. The Anglo-Saxons were not yet one people. They were a collection of tribes and extended families, individuals shaped by tradition, myth, and the quiet challenge of living close to nature. As you relax and breathe slowly, imagine sitting with them by the fire. Feel the warmth, the gentle smell of burning wood, the soft glow reflecting off carved wooden beams. A storyteller stands in the center of the hall, his voice calm, steady, almost hypnotic. He speaks of lands across the sea, of Britannia, a place whispered about in markets and gatherings, a land of green hills, abandoned Roman walls, fertile valleys, and room to begin anew. For years, travelers had returned from the west with tales of a land left unguarded. The Roman legions had withdrawn, new kingdoms were forming, tribes were moving, tension and opportunity hung in the air. And so, little by little, small groups of Angles, Saxons, and Jutes began to look toward the west, toward those distant shores. Picture the moment. A quiet dawned. A handful of wooden boats pulled to the shore, families loading what little they had: tools, blankets, carved wooden chests, small animals. The boats rocking gently in the tide. A soft wind brushes the water. The sea glimmers in pale gold light. Everything moves slowly, calmly, the kind of slowness that lulls your breathing into deeper rhythm. One boat pushes away from the land. Its passengers look back at their home one last time, not with fear, but with hope for new farmland, new beginnings, new stories yet to be lived. The North Sea crossing was not glamorous or dramatic the way legends sometimes tell it. For many, it was long periods of quiet, the sound of wood creaking, waves tapping against the hull, the dull hum of wind passing through the sail. Days passed like this, nothing but horizon and sky. blue shifting to gray, softening to darkness, darkness giving way to another pale sunrise, slow, peaceful, unhurried. When at last the distant shape of land appeared, it wasn't a grand discovery. That it was simply a dark outline rising gently from the mist, Britannia, at a place that would, in time, become their new home. The boats drifted closer, seabirds cried softly overhead, the smell of wet earth and forest drifted through the air. This was not yet England. It was a mosaic of small kingdoms, scattered villages, and wild landscapes. Untouched by plows or footsteps, the Anglo-Saxons stepped onto the sand. The wind tugged at their cloaks. The waves whispered behind them. Their footprints pressed softly into the shore. They did not know it yet, but the quiet moment of their arrival was the beginning of a story that would shape an entire island for centuries. That it is in this quiet beginning, in the simple act of stepping onto a new land, that the story of the Anglo-Saxons truly starts. And as you breathe slowly and let your body sink deeper into rest, imagine the softness of this world, the wind, the water, the gentle firelight, and the simple hope of people seeking a place to belong. Let these images drift through your mind like waves, slow and steady. Tonight, you rest at the edge of an ancient shore. The journey has only begun, and it will unfold gently, piece by piece, guiding you deeper into relaxation and calm. Take another slow breath. Let your body soften a little deeper. As the night settles around you, we return to the quiet world of the early Anglo-Saxons, a world shaped by tides, forests, wind, and long, patient journeys. Imagine the coastline where they arrived. The sky is pale with morning light. Mist drifts low across the sand, creating soft shapes that move gently in the breeze. Nothing is sharp here. Nothing is urgent. Everything unfolds slowly, like a dream. Families step carefully from their boats, not with fear, but with the calm curiosity of people who have spent many days at sea. Their legs feel unsteady after the rocking of the waves. Their feet sink into cool sand. The air smells of pine and damp earth, a smell they haven't known in a long time. Let your breathing follow the rhythm of this moment, slow, steady, peaceful. The Anglo-Saxons pause on the shore, looking around quietly. Behind them, the sea whispers. Before them, a vast green land stretches into forests and rolling hills. For a long moment, they simply listen, to the soft call of birds waking in the trees, to the muted rustle of leaves drifting in the early wind, to the faint echoes of the waves retreating behind them. This land, Britannia, had once been organized, structured, lined with Roman roads and guarded by Roman forts. But now, decades after the legions had left, nature was slowly reclaiming the landscape. Fields lay untended. Villas had collapsed into stones. Roads were cracked and covered with moss. And yet, beneath this quiet decay, the land was rich, fertile, and full of promise. Imagine them walking slowly inland, each step measured, the warmth of the rising sun touching their backs, their cloaks brushing softly against tall grass, children holding onto their parents' hands, their small footprints following in the sand before fading away under gentle wind. They walk toward a small hill from the top. They see the coastline behind them and the wide expanse of Britannia ahead. To their left, a thin trail cuts through a forest. To their right, an open plain unfolds with golden brown grasses swaying lightly. A decision forms. Quietly, calmly, without urgency. They will settle near the forest edge where water is close, where wood is abundant, and where the land feels sheltered enough to begin building a new life. Imagine the first days. Not frantic, but steady, paced like the tide. Men gather wood, chopping gently, the rhythm slow and soothing. Thud, pause, thud, pause. Women unpack tools, laying them on blankets. In neat rows, children explore the edges of the forest, picking up pine cones, stones, and small branches, their laughter soft and distant. You can almost hear the sounds: the rustle of grass, the faint creak of leather straps, the low hum of voices speaking in an early Germanic tongue, a language that will, centuries later, shape English itself. Time passes unhurriedly, small houses begin to rise. Simple timber frames covered with thatch. A central fire pit is built. A path forms between the huts, worn gently by footsteps at night. The glow of the fire gathers everyone into the largest hall at it is warm inside, filled with smoke drifting lazily toward the roof. The room flickers with amber light, shadows dancing on wooden beams. Picture sitting there with them, the warmth on your face, the soft smell of burning wood. A bowl of warm broth in your hands, the quiet comfort of people relaxing after long work. A storyteller stands near the fire, his voice deep and calm. He speaks of their homelands far to the east, of rivers that glisten under cold northern light, of forests thick with ancient oaks and silent wildlife. Then, his voice shifts, and he begins speaking of Britannia. This new land, full of unknowns, challenges, hopes. He speaks slowly, as if choosing each word carefully so the room feels every detail. He tells the people that no kingdom here is unified. Instead, tribes live scattered across the island. Britons in the west and north, small Romanized communities clinging to their old ways, and pockets of land where no one claims lordship. The Anglo-Saxons. This is both a gift and a responsibility at a place where they might build something new. If they move gently, patiently, and with respect for the land. Imagine night falling deeper. The fire burns low. The storyteller's voice fades into a quiet hum. One by one, the villagers drift into rest, lying on simple straw beds, wrapped in blankets, made of wool. Outside, the wind caresses the village softly. Tree branches sway with calm movement. The sea murmurs in the distance like a lullaby. Let this rhythm settle into your breathing, soft, steady, peaceful. Seasons pass. Spring brings blossoms along the forest edge, and the village thrives. Summer brings warmth, long days, fishing, laughter, and the harvest of berries and herbs. Autumn covers the land in gold, and the Anglo-Saxons gather grain, storing food for winter. Winter brings long nights, candlelight, communal warmth, and quiet storytelling beside the fire. Year after year, small settlements like this one appear across the eastern coast of Britannia. Some belong to the Jutes, some to the Angles, some to the Saxons. They do not yet see themselves as one people, but their cultures are close, their language is similar, their hopes intertwined. Imagine their gatherings, a gentle circle of people around a fire outside. The dusk sky turning violet, a soft breeze carrying the scent of cooking. Food, children listening closely as elders speak of customs. How to honor the land, when to plant seeds, which stars to follow when traveling, how to respect the spirits of ancestors. Their world is calm, slow, and connected to nature. There is no rush, no harsh noise, only the simple harmony of daily rhythms. And as you relax deeper into this story, imagine the Anglo-Saxons looking at the same moon you see today, the same stars, the same patterns in the sky. Across more than 1,000 years, that quiet connection remains. For now, their lives are peaceful, their settlements small and spread out. But change is coming, slowly, quietly, like a distant wind. Tributes will rise, kings will emerge, languages will blend, old stories will transform, and the small wooden villages of today will become the seeds of something much larger. But for this moment, you are here with them, in a world of campfires, forests, and gentle northern wind. Let the warmth of their hall, the softness of their land, and the slow rhythm of their lives carry you into deeper calm. Settle in once more, let your breath soften. Allow the quiet world of the early Anglo-Saxons to open around you like a slow-moving dream. Tonight, we continue where we left off, in a land of soft coastal winds, wooden halls glowing with firelight, and quiet communities finding their place on the shores of ancient Britannia. There is no rush here. Every moment unfolds gently, like ripples across still water. Imagine the village in early morning. The sky is pale blue, washed with faint silver clouds. Drifting lazily overhead, a thin mist lies low across the ground, softening every shape: houses, trees, footprints in the damp earth from one of the small timber huts. A faint trail of smoke rises, curling into the air like a sleepy sigh. The Anglo-Saxons wake slowly. They are not people of hurry. They rise with the light stretch, breathe in the cool air, and begin their day with quiet purpose. A woman steps out of her hut, adjusting her woolen cloak. She kneels by a clay pot placed near the central fire and stirs warm embers to life. The faint crackle blends with the soft chirping of morning birds, and in the distance, the forest breathes. Its trees standing tall and silent, watching over the settlement like guardians. Every sound is gentle, a wooden bucket being filled at the stream, footsteps moving through damp grass, the rustle of drying herbs hung above doorways, soft voices greeting the morning. Let yourself sink into the calm of this scene, slow, steady, peaceful. Over the coming hours, the men prepare to explore farther inland. They have seen the coastline. Now they want to understand the land beyond, the forests, the fields, the rivers flowing like silver threads across the countryside. Picture a small group forming. For men with spears, not for battle, but for walking and clearing brush, one older man who knows how to read land and sky, and a youth eager but quiet, trying to learn. They step beyond the edge of the village and into the trees. The forest is a cathedral of tall oaks and beeches, their branches weaving a soft canopy above. Sunlight filters through in thin golden beams that shift with the slightest breeze. Their footsteps are muffled by a carpet of leaves and moss. Everything smells of earth and wood and distant rain. The world feels untouched, ancient, alive. As they walk, they pass the remnants of an old Roman road, now cracked, half swallowed by roots and vines. The older man taps his staff against one of the stones. He speaks softly. This land remembers, he says. Even when people forget, they continue walking, following a river for a time, its waters quiet, reflecting the sky like a mirror. Fish move just beneath the surface. Small flickers of silver light. The men drink from the river, wash their faces, and sit on flat stones warmed by the sun. Now imagine shifting to another scene. The women and children at the village. They are tending to gardens, weaving baskets, grinding grain, gathering reeds from the marsh's edge. Every movement is part of a rhythm passed down through generations, learned from mothers, grandmothers, and great-grandmothers. Life here is simple, but not simple as in lacking, simple as in balanced. There is no rush, no sharp noise, no heavy weight pulling at the mind as you breathe in slowly. Let that simplicity wash over you, like warm light, like soft wind in the afternoon. The villagers gather to work on their great hall, the heart of every Anglo-Saxon settlement. It is still being built, its frame already standing tall, its roof half-thatched, its doorway open to the world. The hall is more than a building. It is a symbol of unity, a place for feasts, councils, stories, songs, marriages, and farewells. Men tie bundles of straw for the roof. Women bring cooked food to feed the workers. Children gather small sticks and carry them proudly, as if they were weighty logs. Everyone has a role. Everyone contributes. And in this quiet cooperation, something deeper forms. The earliest foundations of what will one day become English culture. As evening approaches, the men who explored the forest return with news. A wide clearing beyond the woods, rich soil along the riverbanks, herds of deer grazing in open fields. The people listen in gentle excitement. This land will sustain them. This land will be their home. Night falls slowly. You can imagine the sky turning deep blue, then purple, then velvety black sprinkled with stars. The great hall glows from within, lanterns and torches flickering against the beams. Inside, The villagers gather once more. The fire burns softly, warm red and gold reflections dance across wooden carvings and fur-wrapped benches. A singer with a small harp begins to play. The notes are low, soft, steady, each one stretching into the next like threads in a tapestry. He sings of old homelands across the sea, of storms survived, of journeys taken, of ancestors who walked long before them. His voice does not rise or fall dramatically, it drifts gently, like a lullaby carried on wind. Somewhere in the back of the hall, an elder begins telling a story, a tale of Woden, the wanderer god, and Thunor, god of thunder, and Frigg, goddess of hearth and home. The children listen with wide eyes. Adults listen with quiet respect. These stories are not entertainment. They are memory, identity, and comfort. Imagine the hall growing warmer, quieter, the fire lower, voices softer, breathing slower. You can feel that warmth spread through you as well. A warm heaviness, calm sinking sensation, the body unwinding, loosening, settling outside. The night is deep and silent. Only the crackle of the fire, the whisper of wind through grass, and the quiet hum of distant waves fill the darkness in this moment. The Anglo-Saxons are unaware of the great kingdoms they will one day form, of Wessex, Mercia, Northumbria, East Anglia. They do not imagine the shaping of laws, the writing of Old English, the forging of shields that will echo through centuries. Right now, they know only this, a land to build upon, a fire to gather around, a people to share life with. Let this simplicity settle into your mind, like a calm tide rising slowly and slowly and slowly. The fire fades. The harp grows quiet. People drift to their beds. The hall empties, until only the embers remain, glowing softly in the dark, and the land sleeps with them. Forest, river, sea, all breathing in unison. Tonight, you sleep in their world, a world without hurry, the world shaped by slow, ancient rhythms. Let yourself settle into a softer, slower breath. Feel the weight of your body melting into stillness. Tonight, the story of the early Anglo-Saxons continues. Not in conflict or tension, but in gentle moments of growth, settlement, and quiet transformation. Imagine the village months later. Seasons have turned, softening the land with new colors. The once bare wooden frames of their homes are now fully built, standing strong against wind and passing rain. The great hall, once only a skeleton of timber, now rises proudly, a large, warm structure that glows like an ember at the heart of the settlement. Thatch covers its roof. Carvings of vines, waves, and coiled animals decorate the beams. That it feels old and familiar already. Even though it is new, morning begins slowly. Pale sunlight pushes through a thin veil of fog, illuminating dew-covered grass. Birdsong drifts through the air. Soft and rhythmic smoke curls from chimneys, rising lazily, mixing with mist inside the hall. A few villagers sit near the fire, warming their hands. Speaking in low tones, two children sleep curled under wool blankets. Near them, a dog rests its head on its paws, listening to the quiet murmur of voices. The day opens like this. Not sudden, not rushed, but gently, like a curtain being pulled back to reveal a calm stage. Now imagine stepping outside. The air is cool and still. The village moves slowly into wakefulness. A woman carries a clay pot to the stream. Her reflection ripples softly in the water. A man repairs a fishing net, his movements smooth and practiced. Another chops wood, each strike steady and controlled, allowing for long pauses where the sound fades into silence. A group prepares to journey farther inland, to map the land, discover rivers, understand the terrain, and choose new areas to farm. Their preparations are simple. They pack dried meat, grains, wooden cups, knives, flints, and a small linen pouch of herbs for injuries. They speak quietly, planning routes with the calm practicality of people, accustomed to long, uncertain travels before they leave. They stand in a small circle. The village elder places his hand on each traveler's shoulder, offering soft words of blessing. Not dramatic, not formal, but gentle, like a parent speaking to a child before sleep. Then they go, walking slowly, staffs in hand, their cloaks brushing the grass, their footsteps fading into the forest. Let your breath follow their pace, slow, steady, a rhythm that helps the mind drift deeper as they journey. The landscape shifts. The forest thickens around them, filled with scents of pine and damp leaves. Sunlight filters through in shifting patterns, dappling the path in gold. Birds flutter between branches. The wind hums low through treetops. They move through the forest for hours, stopping occasionally to drink from a spring or rest on moss-covered stones. They speak little, not because they lack words, but because silence feels natural in such a place. Eventually, the trees open into a wide valley, green. Fields stretch into the horizon. A river winds through the center, gleaming like silver in the afternoon light. A herd of deer grazes near the water, lifting their heads only briefly before returning to peaceful feeding. The travelers stand quietly, absorbing the beauty. They see potential everywhere: soft soil, fresh water, protection from harsh winds, room to grow. This valley will become important. Not today, not tomorrow, but one day it will be the birthplace of a new Anglo-Saxon settlement, the earliest seed of a future kingdom. But for now, it is simply a place of gentle promise. Back at the village, the day continues with slow, thoughtful work. Women sit in the sun, spinning wool into thread. Their hands move in a looping, rhythmic pattern: twist, pull, wrap, twist, the repetition soothing like the motion of waves. Others prepare food, grinding grain with rounded stones, mixing herbs, stirring pots over low fires. The smell of warm bread drifts through the air. Children chase each other near the edge of the village, their laughter echoing softly. They stop occasionally to watch ants crawl along fallen branches or to collect small, smooth stones that glimmer in the light. Everything is slow. Everything is simple. Everything feels safe as the sun lowers. Men return from the sea with baskets of fish. Their boats glide onto the sand, water lapping gently against the hulls. The sky glows orange, then pink, then a deepening purple. Evening brings everyone to the great hall. Inside, lanterns cast a warm, golden glow. The long tables are set with bowls of steaming stew, bread, and salted fish. The smell fills the room, comforting and familiar. People gather slowly, taking their places without haste. Voices blend into a quiet hum. Not loud, not sharp, but soft and communal. After eating, the hall becomes a place of stories. An elder, his hair long, silver, and braided, stands near the fire. He taps his wooden staff gently against the floor. The room grows silent. His voice begins low and steady, a voice shaped by decades of telling tales passed through generations. He does not speak of war. He does not speak of fear. He speaks of journeys. The long migration from their eastern homelands, the crossing of the sea, the night the stars guided them when clouds hid the moon. His words flow like a river, slow, meandering, gentle. He describes spirits that live in forests, guardians in lakes, and ancestors who watch quietly from beyond. His stories are not meant to frighten or excite. They are meant to comfort, to remind everyone that they belong to something older, larger, and more enduring than themselves. As he speaks, the fire crackles softly. Shadows dance on wooden walls. People rest their heads against their arms, some with eyes half closed, others already drifting into light sleep. Outside, the night deepens. A crescent moon hangs above the treetops. Stars shimmer faintly. The wind is cool and gentle, brushing against the hall's walls like a quiet whisper. The world beyond the village is vast, wild, and full of unknowns. But inside the hall, there is warmth. There is peace. There is a sense of home, Let that warmth fill your mind, like a soft blanket being laid over your thoughts, like embers glowing in a hearth, slowly dimming, slowly calming, slowly guiding you deeper into rest. The Anglo-Saxons are only at the beginning of their story. Soon, tribes will grow larger. Leaders will emerge. Small villages will turn into settlements, settlements into territories, territories into early kingdoms, but not tonight. Tonight belongs to quiet creation, the shaping of community, the settling of roots, the weaving of lives together. The fire in the great hall burns low. The last stories fade into silence. People rise gently, moving toward their homes. Children are carried in their parents' arms, already asleep. The night wraps itself around the village like a soft, dark cloak, and as you breathe slowly, deeply, peacefully, you drift into the same calm darkness, warm, safe, unhurried. Take a slow breath, feel your chest rise and fall. Let your body loosen and soften. Part 5 carries you deeper into the quiet, early world of the Anglo-Saxons. A world of forests, rivers, small rituals, and the gentle rhythm of a people learning to belong to a new land. Imagine that several months have passed since the night of storytelling in the Great Hall. Seasons have shifted again. What was once late autumn is now early spring. The cold, sharp winds of winter have faded into softer breezes, carrying the smell of wet earth, pine needles, and fresh rain. The village wakes slowly, mist rises from the ground, drifting like pale smoke across the fields. The sky is a muted gray, but warm light begins to glow behind the clouds, promising a calm day. A woman steps outside her home. Pulling a wool shawl around her shoulders, she breathes in the cool air. Looking across the settlement, fires are being lit. She hears the quiet clatter of pottery, the brushing of brooms, the distant thump of someone splitting logs. All of it blends into a soft morning chorus. Within these peaceful routines, an important truth becomes clear. The Anglo-Saxons survived their first winter on this new land. Their farms held. Their food stores lasted. Their homes remained strong. Their community grew closer. Now, with spring returning, everything begins again, but with more confidence, more rhythm, and more harmony. As the sun rises fully, groups gather for daily tasks. Men prepare the fields. Their tools, simple wooden plows with metal tips, cut the soil into long, neat lines. The earth smells rich, damp, ready to receive new seeds. Birds flutter nearby, searching for worms exposed by the turning soil. The movements are slow and steady. Plow, breathe, step, plow, breathe, step. A calm, meditative rhythm settles into their bodies. Women work nearby, pulling last year's dried roots, clearing weeds, and sprinkling ash from the hearths to enrich the soil. Their hands move with practiced ease. Press, loosen, gather, smooth, repeated over and over like a soothing pattern further away. Young people tend to the animals. They lead goats to fresh patches of grass. They brush horses, their hands gliding through manes and over warm coats. They clean the wooden pens, humming or speaking softly to the animals as though comforting them. Life is slow, life is simple, life is deeply peaceful. Near the center of the village, the elder, thin, gray-haired, wrapped in a heavy cloak, walks along the riverbank. His staff taps lightly against stones as he moves, though age has bent him slightly. His eyes remain bright as he watches the flowing water, the ripples shifting and sparkling under the Esu. The river is not merely water. It is a spirit, a guide, an old companion. He kneels and dips his hand into the cold stream. Whispering quiet words, he thanks the river for giving fish, for giving life, for carrying away the troubles of the past season. Such rituals are simple, humble, not dramatic, not mystical, just gentle acknowledgments of harmony with the world. As midday arrives, the atmosphere becomes warmer. Children run across the village green, chasing each other through tall grass. They play with wooden toys, simple figures carved from oak, tiny ships, miniature animals. Their laughter echoes like bells. A young girl stops suddenly, gazing at a cluster of white flowers growing near a fallen tree. She kneels, touching the petals carefully so they don't break her. These flowers are a small treasure. The first bloom of the new season. Nearby, two older boys practice with wooden swords. Their movements are not fierce. They are careful, slow, almost ceremonial. Each strike has a pause. Each block has a breath. They treat the practice like a dance more than a fight. A woman sits close, watching them with a mixture of pride and gentle caution. Later in the day, the hunting group returns from the forest. They carry rabbits, herbs, and bundles of gathered wood. Their faces are relaxed. The hunt was successful, peaceful, unhurried. The forest, in spring, feels alive again. Massive oak trees stretch upward, their branches forming a canopy that filters sunlight into streaks of gold. Soft moss carpets the ground. Streams run clearer and faster with melted snow. Birds call from above. The hunters walk through it, all with quiet respect. They speak of the forest spirits, not with fear, but with affection, as though the woods themselves are old friends watching over them. As evening approaches, the village naturally shifts toward rest. The sky becomes a soft pastel painting, pink, lavender, blue. A few clouds drift lazily, glowing like warm embers. People gather again in the great hall. Lamp flames flicker warmly along the carved beams. The air fills with the comforting smell of cooked meat, herbs, and freshly baked bread. Everyone sits together. No seat is more important than another. They eat slowly, savoring both food and company. After the meal, a young bard with long golden hair brings out a lyre. He strums it gently, letting notes drift through the air like floating ripples. His voice is soft, almost whisper-like, as he begins a song about the sea, about the night their ancestors crossed the waters, stars guiding them, winds carrying them, hope anchoring them. His melody is simple, slow, comforting, perfect for drifting into relaxation. Some close their eyes, some lean against others, some simply listen, breathing in time with the gentle rhythm. Once the singing ends, the elder rises again. Tonight, his story is not about distant ancestors, but about this land itself. He speaks of rolling hills that once echoed with the footsteps of ancient tribes long gone. He speaks of forests older than memory, waters that carved their own stories through valleys, winds that carried fragments of forgotten songs. He tells how the land accepts newcomers slowly, not through force, but through patience, through the steady building of harmony. He looks around the hall and says softly, "You are becoming part of this place, and this place is becoming part of you." His words are quiet, but powerful. Night deepens. One by one, lanterns are extinguished. The hall's golden glow turns to shadow, then to darkness. Villagers step outside, greeted by a sky filled with stars, millions of them, shimmering like tiny sparks of silver. The air is cool, gentle. A soft breeze rustles the grass. The world feels enormous, yet comforting, as though the land itself is humming a lullaby. People return to their homes. Wool blankets are pulled over tired bodies. Children curl up beside their parents. Fires burn low, embers glowing faintly in hearths. The night grows still, and you, your breath slow, your mind quiet, your body warm and heavy, drift easily into deeper rest. The Anglo-Saxons are continuing to shape their identity, learning the land, learning each other, laying the foundations for future kingdoms still far in the distance. But that future can wait. Right now, their world is simple, gentle, full of quiet rituals and peaceful growth. Take a deep breath, then let it go slowly, like fog dissolving over a quiet morning river. I end this part. We return gently to the Anglo-Saxon world as it continues to grow, soften, and settle into the rhythm of its new homeland. Let each word fall around you like warm candlelight, comforting, slow, peaceful. The new day begins with the faint glow of dawn stretching across the sky. A soft layer of mist covers the settlement, swirling lightly between the small wooden homes. Chimneys release thin spirals of smoke, rising quietly into the cool air. Birdsong drifts from the trees, simple, delicate notes echoing across the early light. The Anglo-Saxons wake gradually. There is no rush, no urgency. Their lives move with the rhythm of nature. Slow, steady, patient. Inside one of the homes, a woman stirs from sleep. She sits up, listening to the faint crackle of dying embers in the hearth. Her daughter still sleeps beside her, one hand curled under her cheek. Her breathing soft and even. The mother brushes a gentle hand across the child's hair, then wraps herself in a wool cloak before rising. She steps outside into the soft morning air, her boots sinking lightly into the damp earth. She watches the mist drifting through the settlement, giving everything an otherworldly glow that it feels like stepping into a dream nearby. An older man is tending to the fire pit in the center of the village. He adds a few branches, blows softly, and watches sparks curl upward, glowing briefly before disappearing into the mist. His movements are calm, measured, ritualistic, almost meditative as more villagers awaken. The quiet of morning fills with peaceful sounds. A wooden door creaking, open footsteps brushing across grass, the soft bleating of goats, the rhythmic tapping of someone preparing grain for breakfast, a child's sleepy yawn echoing against the wooden walls. Everything blends into a slow, soothing symphony. Across the fields, the first rays of sunlight stretch over the horizon. They illuminate the rolling hills, the winding river, the forest edges shimmering with dew. The land feels alive, breathing, welcoming. Men begin their work in the fields once again. Their tools glide through the soil with a steady, practiced rhythm. Soil turns over, releasing a deep, earthy smell that fills the air. Seeds are carried in simple woven bags, dropped into the furrows with gentle precision. Women gather near the homes to prepare materials for weaving. Their hands move with a familiar confidence, twisting, looping, smoothing. Strands of wool that will eventually become clothing, blankets, and cloaks. The quiet scraping of spindle whorls against wood adds a soft, repetitive sound to the morning. Children help gather water from the river, carrying small clay jars. They walk slowly, giggling when one nearly spills or when cold droplets splash onto their feet. Their laughter is bright and brief, floating into the air before fading back into the peaceful morning. The river flows steadily, catching the new sunlight and scattering golden reflections across its surface. Its gentle murmur becomes the soundtrack of the settlement's day. An elderly healer kneels at the water's edge, washing her hands carefully. She carries a small basket filled with herbs, sage, mint, dried flowers, and resin from pine trees. Her face is calm and thoughtful as she inspects each plant. She whispers quiet words of thanks, honoring the earth that provided them. In the forest, hunters move silently between the trees, their steps barely disturb the fallen leaves. Sunlight filters through the branches, creating long beams of gold that shimmer against the mossy ground. The hunters breathe slowly, resting their hands on the rough bark of an oak tree, feeling its strength. They do not speak often. Instead, they listen to the forest, the rustle of small animals, the distant call of birds, the gentle groan of branches swaying in the wind. Farther along the riverbank, a young man kneels beside a flat stone, slowly carving a pattern into its surface. He is shaping a small decorative piece, perhaps for a home, perhaps to be a gift, perhaps to honor an ancestor. His hands move with patient artistry, scraping stone against stone. The pattern grows slowly. Spirals, interwoven lines, symbolic shapes representing family, nature, and protection. He pauses occasionally to breathe deeply, letting the calm of the river settle into his work. In the middle of the settlement, a few elders gather around the fire. They sit quietly, observing the life of the village unfold around them. Their conversations are soft, slow, thoughtful. Mostly memories, lessons, and stories about past journeys. They speak of storms weathered, seasons survived, and loved ones remembered. But they also talk of the future, though gently, as if handling something fragile. As midday approaches, warmth spreads across the land. More people gather outside, working, repairing tools, preparing meals, tending animals. Life continues in cycles. Simple, patient, grounding. A group of women begin to prepare a communal meal. They mix grains with herbs and dried vegetables, stirring everything together in a large clay pot suspended over the fire. The smell rises, a soft, warm aroma that carries across the settlement. Children begin to drift closer, drawn by the scent and the reassurance of familiarity. Nearby, a man repairs fishing nets. He sits cross-legged on the grass, stretching the net carefully, tying knots with slow, deliberate motions. He hums quietly to himself. A tune passed down from his father, who learned it from his own father. Songs like these weave through generations, becoming part of the community's soul. By afternoon, sunlight filters through the trees in soft golden sheets. People rest briefly, sitting in the shade, letting the breeze cool their skin. A soft quiet settles over the entire settlement, as if the land itself is breathing slowly, inviting everyone to relax. The elder storyteller walks among the homes, checking on the young ones, offering small words of wisdom, sometimes laughing softly at a child's question. He carries with him a small wooden token, an old carving representing the sun. It symbolizes light, guidance, hope. He holds it often during his quiet walks. As the sun begins its slow descent, shadows stretch across the fields. Light dims gently, turning from bright gold to warm amber. People gather once more in the great hall. Fires are lit, filling the room with soft orange glow. The walls flicker with dancing light, creating a warm, cozy atmosphere that encourages deep relaxation. The evening meal is shared. Voices are quiet, calm, unrushed. Parents speak to children in soothing tones. Friends discuss their day with peaceful ease, and no one hurries. This time together is cherished and unbroken. After dinner, the lyre is brought out again. Its strings are plucked slowly, each note spreading through the hall like a shimmer of warm air. The music is gentle, almost like a lullaby for adults and children alike. People begin to sink deeper into relaxation. Some reach for blankets. Others lean their heads against wooden beams or against the shoulders of loved ones. The fire's soft crackling becomes a steady heartbeat in the room. The elder rises slowly, leaning on his carved wooden staff. He waits for silence to settle fully before speaking. When he begins, his voice is soft, flowing smoothly like water over stones. He tells a story about belonging, about how a people and a land slowly learn each other. He reminds them that identity grows not through force, but through time, care, and patience. His words drift through the hall like warm smoke, filling every corner, comforting every listener. Even the smallest children stay quiet, lulled by the sound of his voice as the story ends. Lanterns are dimmed, people say. They're good nights. The hall empties into the soft evening air. Outside, night has fully settled. The sky is deep blue, dotted with stars that shimmer gently like silver dust. A cool breeze moves through the grass, carrying the scent of pine and river water. The world is quiet, so quiet that even the whisper of leaves feels like a lullaby. One by one, families return to their homes. Fires burn low. Blankets are pulled close, breathing slows. Eyes grow heavy. The settlement sleeps, the land sleeps, and you, listening to this calm, ancient world, feel your breath deepen, your thoughts soften, and your mind drift toward rest and this peaceful darkness. The Anglo-Saxons continue their quiet journey toward becoming a people, a culture, a chapter in history. But for now, all is calm. All is gentle. All is safe. Let your body sink a little deeper into the place where you're resting. Let the weight of the day slide away from your shoulders. And let this story continue holding you gently, like a slow tide moving across a quiet shore. The world of the early Anglo-Saxons wakes again under a calm sunrise that is the kind of morning where the light feels soft, like golden mist spreading gently over fields and rivers. Everything is still, unhurried, peaceful. In the settlement, a few early risers move. Quietly, footsteps whisper over the grass. Wooden doors open with a muffled creak. Somewhere nearby, a kettle hangs above embers, letting thin curls of steam drift lazily into the air. A young shepherd steps outside, rubbing sleep from his eyes. He wraps a wool cloak around himself, inhaling the cool, clean morning. His sheep wait near the edge of the settlement, soft silhouettes in the pale light. Their wool damp with dew. He clicks his tongue gently, and they begin to follow him up the hill, bells chiming softly as they move. On the other side of the settlement, a woman kneels beside a wooden bowl filled with water. She splashes her face carefully, feeling the cold droplets wake her senses. Behind her, the forest stretches endlessly, its trees swaying with a slow rhythm that seems to breathe with the morning wind. As she stands, she notices the small carved talisman hanging outside her home, a simple wooden charm that symbolizes protection, fortune, and the quiet strength of ancestors. She touches it gently, as if thanking the past for guiding her through another night. The day begins slowly, exactly as it always has in this world, with humility, routine, and a deep connection to the land. Farther out in the fields, the earth is rich from recent rain. Farmers bend their bodies in rhythmic movements, smoothing soil, checking sprouts, adjusting wooden fences worn by weather. Every movement is unhurried. The land teaches them patience, and they accept it without resistance. Their tools scrape softly against the earth. Birds hop along the furrows, searching for small insects. Insects hum quietly in the grass. Every sound blends together into something calming, like nature's version of a lullaby. Across the river, a group of women gather reeds to weave baskets. They wade barefoot into the shallow water, feeling the cool current flow around their legs. The river is slow here, gentle enough that its surface mirrors the pale sky above. They cut reeds carefully, laying them in bundles. Along the bank, as they work, they hum a low, soothing melody, one that has been passed down through generations. Their voices rise and fall like waves. The harmony is soft, calming, almost hypnotic. Farther upstream, the elder healer moves through the forest, searching for plants that bloom only in early mornings. Her steps barely disturb the leaves underfoot. She carries a small clay jar filled with salve, another with dried berries, another with powdered bark. She knows every sound the forest makes, the flutter of wings, the crack of small twigs, the low murmur of wind weaving through branches. She pauses beside a patch of pale flowers opening toward the morning light. Their scent is faint, sweet, relaxing. She kneels and gathers a few gently, whispering a quiet thanks to the earth. Everything she does is slow, intentional, respectful. Meanwhile, on a hill overlooking the settlement, a few elders stand together in silent thought. They watch the people moving below, children playing near the riverbanks, farmers walking the fields, women weaving, hunters preparing gear for a distant forest trail. These elders see more than just the morning. They see the passing of time, the growth of a people, the slow shaping of a community that is beginning to take form. It is in moments like this that they feel the weight and beauty of change. Centuries earlier, this land had been Roman. Cities had stood, roads had shimmered with busy travelers. Soldiers had marched in formation. Villas had dotted the countryside. Now only remnants remained. Stones hidden under moss, cracked roads fading into the wild, broken walls reclaimed by vines and roots. The Anglo-Saxons. These ruins feel like whispers of another world. A world grand but distant, majestic but forgotten. Sometimes a child asks about them, tracing carvings with curious fingers. Sometimes hunters rest inside old stone chambers, listening to the echo of their footsteps. Sometimes elders speak of the Romans not with fear, but with wonder. But mostly, the ruins are quiet companions to a people forging something entirely new. As the sun rises higher, the settlement becomes busy with life. Children run between houses, carrying small woven baskets for chores. A group of men gathers near the river, repairing the bridge made from logs and clay. Tools clink softly, voices murmur quietly. Occasional laughter rises like warm air. The aroma of cooking spreads through the air. Herbs, grains, roasted fish, warm bread. It wraps the settlement in familiarity and comfort. By midday, the sky is bright, the fields glowing in gold. Birds circle overhead in the shade of one large oak tree. Several villagers gather to rest. The woman braids her daughter's hair while humming a melody. Two elderly men sit cross-legged, carving runes into small wooden pieces. A young man sharpens his spearhead with slow, steady strokes. Though he hopes not to need it today, life has dangers. Wild animals, storms, occasional conflict with neighboring tribes. But today, everything is peaceful as the afternoon drifts into early evening. A cool breeze sweeps across the settlement. Smoke rises from the hearths. Shadows grow longer. The river glows with reflections of the lowering sun. People begin to gather wood for the evening fire in the great hall. Their movements remain unhurried, as if even the coming of night is part of a soft, predictable rhythm. Inside the hall, the long fire pit crackles with new warmth. Light spreads across the wooden beams, making them glow like amber. People gather slowly, children first, then elders, then families carrying bowls and blankets. The atmosphere feels like a warm embrace. The fire crackles softly, whispers ripple through the crowd. Everyone finds a place, leaning against walls, sitting on woven mats, wrapping themselves in wool. A woman plucks a lyre. The notes shimmer and fall into the spacious hall like drifting feathers. Each sound is gentle, soothing, slow. Then, once the mood has settled completely, the elder storyteller rises. He steps into the glow of the fire. His shadow stretches behind him, long and soft. His voice enters the air like warm smoke, deep, calm, comforting. He speaks of the earliest ancestors, people who crossed rivers of ice and followed the stars south. He speaks of gifts left by the gods, strength, land, language, family. He speaks of hardships endured, storms survived, journeys completed. And then he speaks of the Anglo-Saxons now, how their settlements grow, how their traditions root deeper into the soil, how they shape a life of patience, resilience, and quiet determination. Every listener feels the weight and gentleness of his words. Some drift towards sleep, heads resting against their hands. Others watch the fire, mesmerized by the flickering glow. Outside, night deepens. The moon climbs high, casting silver light across roofs and fields. An owl glides silently overhead. The river flows with a calm rhythm, reflecting stars one by one. The settlement settles into silence. Doors close softly, fires dim, breathing slows. Sleep drifts from home to home, wrapping everyone like a warm cloak, and all around them, the land remains peaceful. A quiet cradle holding a growing people through the long, gentle night. Slow down your breathing, feel your body soften. Feel the weight of the day slip away like a slow tide pulling back from the shore. Tonight, we continue drifting deeper into the gentle world of the Anglo-Saxons, where the days move with the rhythm of nature and every sound feels like part of a quiet lullaby. The morning begins with a soft, golden glow spilling across the settlement. Birdsong rises from the treetops, delicate as threads of silk floating through the cool air. Mist curls low across the grass, swirling around the wooden homes like drifting spirits of the dawn. A woman steps from her door, wrapping a warm cloak around her shoulders. Her breath rises in pale clouds. She kneels beside the small herbs growing near her home, brushing her fingers against their leaves to check the morning dew. Their scent, fresh, earthy, calming, drifts upward as she works. Nearby, a man tightens the strap of his leather boots while his young son watches with sleepy eyes. The boy hugs a carved wooden toy. Shaped like a small horse, he follows his father quietly, stepping in the larger footprints before they disappear in the soft grass. The settlement wakes gradually. A door creaks open. A child yawns. A goat bleats softly. A fire is rekindled, sending gentle crackling sounds into the stillness. Everything happens slowly, naturally, with no rush, just the calm unfolding of daily life as the sun rises higher. Its warm light flows across the land, revealing rolling hills, fields stretching into the distance, and the winding river reflecting the sky like a smooth sheet of silver to the riverbank. A group of women kneel, washing wool and weaving reeds. They laugh softly, their voices blending with the sound of water. The river is shallow enough to walk through without fear, its pebbled bottom glowing faintly beneath the sunlight. One woman pauses to watch a dragonfly hover above the water. Its wings catch the light, glowing like tiny shards of glass. She follows its gentle flight, feeling a quiet joy rise in her chest. Not far away, several men prepare to travel to a distant valley. They tighten the ropes of their packs, check their tools, and speak in low, steady voices. They will travel for 2 days to trade goods: furs, pottery, carved tools, for salt, iron, and stories carried from distant settlements. The Anglo-Saxons value stories as much as supplies. Stories bring connection, knowledge, and a sense of belonging to a world larger than their fields and forests. The travelers begin, walking along the old Roman road. Though cracked and covered in moss, the stones still form a faint path stretching into the horizon. The men walk silently for some time, their breaths falling into rhythm with their steps. Above them, the sky is wide, open, and calm. Birds glide lazily overhead. A light breeze brushes through the tall grass, creating a gentle whispering sound as they walk. One of them stops and kneels beside a broken stone marker. He brushes away the dirt, revealing a faint carving of Roman letters. He cannot read them, but he traces them slowly with his fingers, sensing the echo of a vanished world. A world that left behind roads, but not its people. Back in the settlement, children gather near the hall to listen to the village elder. His voice is soft, crackling like old parchment, but filled with warmth. He sits on a carved wooden chair, holding a staff decorated with spirals and small symbols. He tells them about the spirits of the land, spirits of the trees, the rivers, the sky, and the fields. Not frightening spirits, but gentle ones, spirits that watch, guide, and protect. The children listen with wide eyes, clutching small wooden figures. The elder's words drift like incense, calming and mesmerizing. Inside the hall, the smell of bread baking fills the air. The fire glows bright, sending tiny sparks into the dimly lit space. The sounds are soothing, fire crackling with settling, soft footsteps crossing the floor. 2 women knead dough slowly, pressing it in rhythmic motions that match their breathing. The scent grows richer as the minutes pass, wrapping the room in warmth. Outside, the wind begins to pick up, not strong, just enough to make the tall grass weave back and forth in soft patterns. The sky develops a pale haze, like a dream gathering around the edges of the day. In the fields, farmers work carefully, checking sprouts and adjusting irrigation ditches. Their hands move steadily. The earth is dark and moist. Their movements shape the land, preparing it for months ahead. They talk quietly about harvests, about weather, about small things that matter deeply to people living close to the soil. Farther south, near the edge of the woods, a hunter tracks the path of a deer. He moves slowly, stepping between fallen branches, pausing often to listen, but he is in no rush. He respects the land and its rhythms that he knows that balance, not conquest, defines survival here. A squirrel leaps between branches above him, birds scatter briefly, and he stops to observe, smiling softly at nature's small performances. By midday, sunlight fills the settlement, shadows fall short, faces glow with the warmth of the sun. People rest briefly, drinking water from wooden cups and sharing small slices of fruit. A group of girls braid each other's hair, weaving thin ribbons and tiny dried flowers into the strands. They laugh, whisper, and enjoy the simple joy of being together. A group of boys try to shape small wooden shields, practicing with sticks. Their play is slow, harmless, more about imagination than conflict. In the afternoon, elders gather in the hall to discuss the future of the settlement. They speak softly, with patience and respect. They talk of boundaries, of relationships with nearby tribes, of harvest projections, of safety for their families. Their voices rise and fall gently, never sharp, never rushed. Even disagreements are expressed with calm conviction, softened by the understanding that unity keeps the settlement alive. The sun begins to descend, turning the sky into a soft wash of gold, peach, and pale blue. The river glows brighter than ever, becoming a ribbon of shimmering light. People return from the fields, carrying tools over their shoulders. Shepherds guide their animals back through the gate. Fires spark again near homes. Children run to their families, their faces glowing with the warmth of evening as the world grows dim. The great hall lights up again. Inside, lanterns cast gentle halos on the walls. The fire burns steadily, filling the space with warm crackling sounds that echo softly. Families gather. Some sit near the fire. Some lean against the walls. Some curl up on blankets. The mood is calm, serene, like a collective exhale at the end of a long but peaceful day. A woman plays the lyre again, fingers plucking strings slowly, producing a melody that feels like drifting into a dream. Each note hangs in the air for a moment before dissolving into silence. Then the elder rises, moving to stand beside the fire. His face glows with the soft light. His eyes reflect wisdom shaped by decades of watching the community grow. His voice enters the hall like a warm breeze. Tonight, he speaks of the old homeland across the sea, of dense forests, snow-lit winters, and nights filled with stars so bright they seem to touch the earth. He tells of ancestors who traveled through unknown lands with only hope as their guide. He speaks of courage, but in a gentle way, the quiet courage that lives in patience, compassion, and perseverance. He speaks of unity, of the strength found in simple acts, sharing food, tending a fire, raising a child, honoring nature. His words flow smoothly, casting a spell over the hall. People close their eyes, leaning into the comfort of his voice. The fire crackles, lanterns flicker. The hall slowly settles into a dreamy stillness. Eventually, the elder ends his story, placing his hand on the wooden carving he carries. A symbol of the sun, warming and eternal. People rise quietly, whispering goodnight, stepping out into the cool air. Outside, the night is soft and velvety. The moon glows above the treetops. The stars shimmer gently, as if watching over the settlement. Families return to their homes, doors close softly, blankets rustle, breathing slows, and soon, the entire settlement sleeps. Only the river continues its quiet song. Only the wind moves through the leaves. Only the embers in the fire glow faintly, like tiny red stars waiting for dawn. Let your breath slow, let your shoulders drop gently. Let the quiet of the night settle around you like a soft blanket as we return to the world of the Anglo-Saxons. Imagine yourself stepping once again into their calm landscape, a place where time moves differently, where each hour unfolds like ripples across a still lake. The morning begins with a soft brightness that slowly expands across the horizon. Thin light pours between tall grasses, illuminating droplets of dew that shimmer like tiny crystals. The entire settlement feels hushed, balanced delicately between dreams and waking. In one of the homes, a young mother sits near the hearth, gently rocking her infant. The fire glows with faint embers, filling the room with the warm scent of wood and earth. The child murmurs softly, half asleep, half awake, as the mother whispers a lullaby from her childhood. Her voice is low, soothing, like wind brushing over the surface of a calm pond. Outside, the air is cool and fresh. A shepherd wanders toward the fields, guiding his small flock through the gate. The sheep move slowly, their wool catching the morning light. The shepherd walks with unhurried steps, his thoughts peaceful, matching the quiet rhythm of dawn. Near the river, two boys crouch beside the water, skipping stones across the surface. The stones make soft clicks as they hit, bouncing once, twice, then sinking beneath the gentle ripples. Their laughter is faint, warm and innocent, drifting on the air like bird song. The river itself reflects the pale morning sky. A faint mist hovers above its surface, swirling around reeds and stones. The current is slow and steady, carrying leaves, fragments of bark, and shimmering reflections downstream. Not far away, a woman begins her work in her small garden. She kneels beside rows of herbs, brushing soil gently between her fingers. Mint, thyme, fennel, and sage grow here, filling the air with calming scents. She checks each plant carefully, humming a soft tune as she works. Her movements are delicate, precise, full of quiet care. Inside the hall, a few elders gather around the central fire. The flames crackle softly, warming the interior with a soft orange glow. They speak in murmurs about the coming seasons, what to plant, when to harvest, how to prepare for autumn rains. Their voices blend with the fire, creating a gentle, comforting hum. Outside, the settlement slowly awakens. More people step from their homes, stretching, breathing deeply, adjusting their cloaks. The smell of warm bread drifts through the air as someone opens the oven door, letting steam rise into the cool morning. Children stop their play, sniffing the air with delighted smiles as the sun climbs higher. The light becomes golden, softening every edge of the world. Shadows fall behind homes, and the roofs glow faintly under the warmth. A group of men walk toward the forest carrying axes and ropes. They plan to gather timber and stones for new homes being built at the edge of the settlement. There, conversation is calm, punctuated by short bursts of laughter and thoughtful pauses. The forest greets them with stillness. Tall trees stretch upward, their branches forming a canopy that filters sunlight into delicate beams. The forest floor is covered in moss, soft and springy underfoot. Birds flutter between branches, singing simple songs. The men work slowly and respectfully. They choose trees carefully, only those old enough to be harvested, trees that the elders have blessed in earlier rituals. With each cut, the forest seems to breathe, releasing gentle scents of sap and fresh wood. Meanwhile, back at the settlement, women gather at the riverbank with baskets of linen. They kneel beside the water, washing fabrics with rhythmic motions, their hands dipping and lifting. Water splashes softly, creating patterns of light across the surface. They talk quietly about daily life, sharing stories, advice, and jokes. A small child sits nearby, dipping her toes into the water and giggling as fish brush against her skin. Her mother glances at her and smiles, comforted by the simplicity of the moment. By midday, the world is warm and bright. People pause their work to share a meal. Bread, herbs, dried fish, small fruits. They sit together in small groups under the shade of trees or near the hall, enjoying the comfort of companionship. Laughter spreads softly through the air, blending with birdsong and the rustle of leaves. After the meal, the settlement grows quiet again. some people rest in their homes. Others resume their tasks slowly, mindful of the afternoon heat. A group of artisans gather near the hall to carve wooden bowls and utensils. Their tools scrape softly, creating a rhythm that is almost musical. Shavings fall to the ground in curling spirals. Each piece is shaped with care, as if infused with the maker's quiet patience. Farther along the river, a young couple sits together beneath a willow tree. They speak little, simply enjoying the breeze and the way the water glimmers in the sun. Their hands rest gently close to one another, fingers brushing occasionally. The moment is still and intimate, filled with a simple, peaceful affection. As the day continues, clouds drift slowly across the sky, casting moving shadows on the fields. Farmers follow these shadows, checking their crops, adjusting tools, tending animals. Every movement is part of a cycle that repeats with comforting regularity. By early evening, the air cools again. The light becomes softer, tinted with gold and rose. People gather wood for night fires, fill water containers, and call children inside. The settlement prepares for night in unison, like a large family. Fires spark in hearths. Herbs are hung to dry near doorways, warm meals simmer in pots in the great hall. The central fire burns bright. The flames dance, casting shifting patterns on the wooden beams. Families enter slowly, bringing blankets, tools, and freshly baked bread. The atmosphere is calm, inviting, filled with the warmth of community. A young woman takes her place near the fire, lifting her lyre. She plucks a series of notes, each one soft and lingering. The room grows still as the music flows through it, a gentle melody that settles into the hearts of everyone gathered. Then, when the moment is right, the elder storyteller rises. His cloak sways softly as he steps into the light of the fire. He leans lightly on his walking stick, eyes glowing with wisdom and warmth. His voice emerges slowly, deep and steady. Tonight, he speaks of journeys across the sea, of the ancestors who braved uncertain waters to reach this land. He describes the longships cutting through waves, the stars guiding them through darkness, the hope that pulled them forward. He speaks of loyalty, resilience, and unity. He tells how these values shaped the people they have become, and how they will continue guiding future generations. People listen in silence. Some close their eyes, letting the words wash over them. Others watch the elder with quiet admiration. The flickering fire illuminates faces softened by the calm of night. As the story draws to a close, the elder makes a slow gesture toward the fire, as if offering the final words to the warmth itself. He sits, and the hall remains quiet for a long moment. A peaceful silence filled only by the crackling of flames. One by one, people rise and step outside. The night is cool, deep blue, and filled with stars. The moon casts silver light across the settlement. The river glows faintly, moving like a ribbon of liquid light. Families walk home, speaking softly, doors close gently. Oil lamps are dimmed. Sleep begins to drift over the settlement like soft falling snow. Inside homes, children curl beneath blankets. Adults settle onto their straw beds, breathing slowly. A few embers glow in hearths, providing a dim, warm light. Outside, the wind moves through the leaves in a soothing rhythm. An owl calls softly from the trees. The river hums steadily, never stopping, always flowing, and the entire Anglo-Saxon world sleeps. A world of quiet footsteps, warm fires, gentle songs, and deep connection to the land. Settle in a little deeper. Let your breath fall into a slow rhythm. Let your mind loosen, soften, drift, and allow this part of the story to unfold around you like warm light spreading across a quiet room. The dawn breaks slowly over the Anglo-Saxon settlement, bathing the land in a gentle glow. The sky is the color of pale gold, fading into soft pink near the horizon. Birds begin their morning calls, short, delicate notes that echo over the fields and riverbanks, that a light mist clings to the earth, curling around wooden homes, drifting lazily between trees inside one of the houses. A woman wakes to the sound of chickens rustling outside. Her home is dimly lit by the early morning light sneaking through a small window. She stretches, feeling the cool air brush her skin. The fire from the night before has nearly died, but a few glowing embers remain. Pulsing gently like small red stars, she wraps herself in a warm cloak and steps outside. The earth is cool beneath her feet. Dew beads glisten on the grass, shining like tiny jewels. She breathes deeply, letting the crisp air fill her lungs. The morning is peaceful, familiar, comforting. Nearby, a young boy chases a goose around a wooden fence, laughing softly as it escapes his grasp. His mother calls out gently, reminding him not to startle the animal so early. He slows, giggling quietly, and sits beside the fence to watch the goose waddle away. Across the settlement, a group of men wake and gather near the central fire pit. They bring small bundles of wood and place them carefully onto the embers. With a few gentle breaths and the soft assistance of dry grass, the fire catches, sending warm sparks into the cool morning air. The flames grow steadily, crackling softly, a sound that seems to comfort everyone nearby. Soon, the smell of smoke and warm earth fills the air, weaving itself into the rhythms of another Anglo-Saxon day. The settlement begins to stir. Doors open slowly. People step outside with quiet footsteps. Mothers carry small baskets. Elders stretch their limbs carefully. Children rub sleep from their eyes. The morning unfolds in gentle waves. One man heads toward the woods carrying an axe and a coil of rope. He intends to gather fallen branches today. No need to cut living trees unless necessary. He pauses as he reaches the forest line, taking in the scent of pine, the rustle of leaves, the mysterious quiet of the woods inside the forest. Sunlight drips through branches in shimmering beams. Birds flit between trees. Squirrels hop along the ground. The forest feels alive, yet still, as if it watches every movement with ancient patience. The man takes measured steps. He gathers branches methodically, stacking them securely before tying them into a bundle. Every sound he makes is gentle. The soft crack of twigs, the low shuffle of boots through leaves, the distant echo of his breathing. Back at the settlement, a group of women prepare a morning meal. They grind grains using smooth stones, moving their arms in slow, circular motions. The rhythmic grinding creates a soft, soothing sound. Nearby, herbs simmer in clay pots over the fire, releasing warm, fragrant steam. The scent of thyme and leek floats through the air, drifting past houses and fields. People inhale with appreciation. Breakfast is simple but nourishing, and its familiar smell wraps the settlement in comfort. Further down the river, a fisherman checks his woven nets. He lifts them from the shallow water, droplets falling like tiny beads of glass. Small fish wriggle inside the net, shimmering as they catch the light. He thanks the river quietly under his breath, honoring the life it gives so generously. A group of children gather near the banks, skipping stones and watching ripples grow wider with each throw. Their laughter is soft, bright, and innocent, a reminder of joy untouched by worry. By mid-morning, the settlement feels fully alive. A woman spins wool near her home, twisting fibers between her fingers with practiced ease. Her spinning will turn smoothly, humming a steady, hypnotic rhythm. She finds peace in the repetition, in the familiar texture of the wool, in the slow creation of thread that will one day warm someone she loves. Close by, a craftsman carves runes into a wooden tablet. His hands move with precision, shaping each line with patience. He pauses often, studying the wood, listening to it, respecting its grain. The carving he creates will be used in a ritual, a symbol of protection, honor, or memory. By noon, the world grows warmer. The sun hangs high. Shadows drift beneath trees, swaying softly with the breeze. People gather under the shade to rest. They share bread and fruit, passing wooden bowls back and forth. A young girl braids flowers into her hair while her brother tries to mimic her skill, fumbling and laughing quietly. The settlement breathes together, a community bound by routine, tradition, and the calm rhythm of daily living. After resting, the villagers return to their tasks. Farmers tend crops with slow, careful hands. Shepherds guide their animals along the hillside. Artisans work in the open air, crafting tools, shaping pottery, weaving baskets. Everything they create feels connected to the land, a reminder that their survival comes from harmony, not dominance. In the forest clearing, the healer spreads herbs onto a linen cloth to dry. She examines each plant. Meadowsweet for pain, sage for cleansing, yarrow for wounds, elderflower for fevers. Her movements are gentle, almost ceremonial. To her, every plant carries its own spirit, its own quiet wisdom. She hums an old tune as she works, letting the melody drift into the warm art as the afternoon deepens. Clouds gather softly overhead, casting dappled shadows across the land. A breeze moves through the trees, brushing leaves together in a whispery chorus. People notice the change in the air. Not alarm, just awareness. Weather is part of life, to be accepted with calm rather than resisted. Some villagers gather tools and bring them under shelter. Others check roofs or tie down thatch. Preparation is simple, instinctive, rooted in the wisdom of generations. The first drops of rain fall lightly, tapping gently on rooftops. Children lift their faces toward the sky, giggling as the droplets land on their skin. Adults smile softly, watching the scene. The rain builds into a soft, steady shower. Not heavy, not cold, just enough to paint the world in silver and deepen the scent of earth. People retreat into homes and the great hall. Fires are lit, cloaks are hung to dry. Families sit close together, listening to the rain drum a gentle rhythm on the wooden beams. Inside the hall, the atmosphere is warm and golden. Flames flicker in the central hearth. Shadows sway on the walls. A pot of stew simmers slowly, releasing steam that curls in the air like soft white ribbon. Children lie on blankets, tracing shapes in the wood grain of the floor. Adults speak quietly, voices blending with the rain in a calm, steady hum. A young man picks up a bone flute and plays a simple tune. Notes so soft they seem woven from the rain itself. The melody drifts through the hall, comforting, peaceful, ancient. When the rain fades, the elder storyteller rises once again. His presence brings a hush across the room. He settles near the fire, placing his carved staff beside him. His voice comes slowly, deep and warm. He speaks of seasons long past, of winters that tested their courage, of summers rich with harvest, of years when the river froze solid and years when storms reshaped the land. He speaks of ancestors whose footsteps guided them here, ancestors whose dreams are carried in the stories he now tells. The hall falls into a trance. Every ear listens. Every heart softens. The fire crackles gently. Rainwater drips from the eaves outside. Lanterns glow with a quiet warmth, and as the elder speaks, the night deepens around the settlement, wrapping everything in. Calm. When he finishes, silence settles like soft snow. People rise slowly, stretching, yawning. They bid one another good night in hushed tones. Outside, the air is cool and fresh, washed clean by the rain. Stars peek through scattered clouds. The moon casts pale light across puddles, making them glimmer like tiny mirrors. Point one by one, doors close softly. Inside their homes, families curl under blankets, the warmth of the fire fading into a peaceful glow. Breathing slows. Eyes grow heavy. Dreams begin to form. And for another night, the Anglo-Saxon world sleeps in perfect harmony with the land that holds it. Let your breath slow. Let your body become heavier. and let the quiet world of the Anglo-Saxons rise around you once again like a soft mist drifting across a gentle landscape. The morning begins long before the sun fully rises. The settlement still lies in shadows, touched only by the pale silver glow of dawn that a few early birds chirp softly, their voices delicate and hesitant, as though they're testing the shape of the day. The air is cool, crisp enough to make breath visible. Inside one of the homes, a man wakes slowly, rolling onto his side, listening to the faint sounds of morning. The dying embers from last night's fire still glow, pulsing gently, like distant stars. That he sits up, rubbing sleep from his eyes, and wraps a wool cloak around his shoulders. That he steps outside into the calm embrace of the early hour. Mist clings to the grass, swirling around his boots as he walks toward the central fire pit with practiced ease. He adds small branches, blowing softly until warmth blooms again. The fire rises slowly, as though waking alongside the settlement, stretching upward in muted orange waves nearby. A woman emerges from her home. She carries a clay pot and kneels by a small well, drawing water with careful hands. As the bucket rises, droplets fall back into the darkness, echoing like tiny bells. She smiles at the familiar sound. It has greeted her every morning since childhood. That a few houses away, a young girl steps outside with a handful of grain. She scatters it gently for the chickens, who cluck and flutter sleepily, pecking the ground with soft tapping sounds. Her hair is braided neatly, small flowers woven between the strands from the day before. She pauses to watch the sunrise coloring the sky in strokes of pale gold and lavender. The settlement begins to wake, doors open, soft voices murmur. Fires crackle to life, wooden floors creak. Before long, the air fills with the warm sense of baking bread and boiling herbs. One man prepares his fishing spear, checking each point carefully. Before heading toward the river, he walks with calm purpose, following the narrow path through tall grass. The river greets him with its usual steady murmur, the surface smooth and glassy, reflecting the waking sky. He steps into the water slowly, letting the cold settle around his ankles. That he waits, absolutely still, watching the soft shadows beneath the surface. This patient stillness is a kind of meditation, an unspoken agreement between him and the river. Back in the settlement, a group of women gather near the hall to weave cloth. Their hands move rhythmically, threads crossing and looping in patterns passed down through generations. The sound of the loom is soft but steady. Tap, pull, tap, pull. A comforting rhythm that echoes like a heartbeat. As the sun climbs higher, warmth spreads over the fields. Farmers move through the crops, checking soil, pulling weeds, examining the growth of barley and rye. Their clothing rustles softly with each movement. Birds glide overhead, casting fleeting shadows across the earth. At the edge of the settlement, the healer tends to her drying herbs. She flips each bundle carefully, ensuring even exposure to the sunlight. Mint releases a gentle scent as she handles it, so does the rosemary. The air becomes fragrant, soothing, full of natural calm. Near the forest line, two hunters track deer trails. They move silently, gliding through shadows, listening to the smallest sounds. A twig snapping, a distant rustle, the flutter of wings. They leave no trace. Behind them, blending with the forest as though they were part of it. Meanwhile, the blacksmith works at his anvil. The sound of his hammer is slow and measured. Not loud, not sharp, but deep and resonant. He shapes small tools today, smoothing the edges, quenching them in water that hisses softly with each dip. Sparks glow and fade, glowing like fireflies. By midday, the settlement settles into a quieter rhythm. Children rest under the shade of trees, nibbling on berries and telling each other small stories. Some chase dragonflies. Some draw shapes in the dirt with sticks. Their laughter is gentle, rising and falling like a summer breeze. Near the hall, elders sit together discussing the future. They speak of hunting grounds, planting cycles, the need to repair one of the storage roofs before autumn arrives. Their voices are calm, respectful, woven with patience grown from years of experience. As the sun dips slightly, creating long shadows over the fields, a group of travelers arrives at the settlement. They come from a distant valley, carrying goods wrapped in cloth, salt, cured meats, pottery. Their faces are tired but friendly. The settlement welcomes them warmly. Children rush to see what they've brought. Adults greet them with handshakes, smiles, and offers of fresh water. Travelers begin sharing stories of lands beyond the hills, stories of large gatherings, of strange weather patterns, of a village far away that built a new hall bigger than any before. These stories mesmerize the villagers. They listen as if collecting threads to weave into the fabric of their own imaginations. As afternoon turns into early evening, preparations for the communal meal begin. Large pots are filled with vegetables, grains, and herbs. Fires brighten. The aroma grows stronger with each passing minute. The sky shifts to warm hues of amber and soft rose. A cool breeze moves through the settlement, brushing over the skin like a whisper. People gather in the great hall as lanterns are lit along the walls. The room glows with warm, golden light. Shadows dance on the wooden beams overhead. Children settle onto blankets near the fire. Adults find places to sit, leaning back, relaxing into the comfort of familiar faces. A young woman plays the lyre. The melody she creates is slow and soft, flowing through the hall like warm water. Each note hangs in the air before dissolving gently. After the music fades, the elder storyteller rises once more. He walks slowly toward the fire. His cloak brushing lightly against the floor, he stands where the flames illuminate his features, revealing eyes full of depth and memory. His voice begins low and soothing. Tonight, he speaks of the balance between humans and nature, how every tree cut must be honored, how every animal hunted must be respected, how the earth breathes in harmony with those who walk gently upon it. He tells of ancient rituals performed long before their people crossed the sea, rituals meant to remind them that they belong to the land as much as it belongs to them. That he tells of wise ancestors who believed that peace comes not from strength alone, but from patience, humility, and gratitude. People listen with serene attention. Even the smallest children stay quiet, lulled by the cadence of his voice. When the story ends, the hall stays silent for a long moment. Only the soft crackling of the fire fills the space. Outside, night has settled fully. The stars shine brightly. The moon hangs low, casting gentle light across roofs and fields. Families walk home slowly. The sound of their footsteps blends with the nighttime breeze. Doors close softly. Lanterns are dimmed, breathing slows. Inside every home, the world becomes quiet. Warm blankets rustle. Fires glow faintly. Dreams rise like mist, and the Anglo-Saxon settlement falls into another peaceful night. Take a slow breath in, let it fall out gently. Feel your body soften a little more, as if melting into the quiet around you. Tonight, we drift deeper into the Anglo-Saxon world, where days unfold patiently and nights whisper with calm, ancient rhythms. The morning begins with a faint silver light stretching across the horizon. The settlement still sleeps, wrapped in a hushed stillness that feels suspended between dream and waking. Only the soft rustle of wind through the thatched roofs disturbs the silence. Inside one home, a woman wakes early. She sits up slowly, listening to the faint cooing of doves perched on the wooden beams. The embers of last night's fire glow faintly, casting dim red patches on the walls. She places another small log on the embers, watching smoke curl upward like a quiet spirit stretching awake. She reaches for a clay cup of water and holds it for a moment, feeling its cool weight, then takes a sip. The taste is simple and clean, grounding her gently in the new day. A man outside pushes open the wooden door of his home. Cold morning air greets him, and he wraps his cloak tighter around his shoulders. Mist curls around his boots as he walks toward the central fire pit. He kneels, blowing softly onto the coals from the night before. Little sparks jump upward, glowing briefly before fading with patience and gentle breath. The fire returns to life, its soft crackle blending with the early sounds of waking animals. A pair of goats calls out from their enclosure. Chickens scratch lightly at the earth. A dog stretches, its tail sweeping across the ground in slow arcs. The sky brightens gradually, shifting from silver to pale gold. Clouds drift in soft shapes, catching the first colors of dawn. More villagers emerge from their homes. Some stretch their arms overhead. Some adjust their wool cloaks. Some simply stand for a moment, taking in the cool, quiet air. A child rubs sleep from her eyes while holding on to her mother's hand. She looks up at the sky, with wonder, as though seeing the morning for the first time. Breakfast begins quietly in each home. Warm porridge is stirred slowly over small fires. Children sit cross-legged, waiting to be served. The sound of wooden spoons scraping bowls adds to the soft symphony of morning. After the meal, people begin their tasks for the day. A group of farmers walks toward the fields, tools resting over their shoulders. The earth is soft beneath their feet, still damp from the night's dew. Birds follow them, hopping in the grass, searching for insects disturbed by the farmer's steps. The farmer's work is steady and meditative. Their tools sink into soil with a low, rhythmic sound. Each movement is purposeful, patient, connected to the slow cycles of the land. In the distance, a young girl gathers wildflowers along the path. She moves carefully, selecting blooms of soft blue and white. She touches each stem gently before placing it into her small woven basket. Her hair glows in the morning sunlight, strands catching the light like threads of golden silk. Near the river, a group of women wash linen garments. They kneel at the water's edge, dipping fabric into the cool current. The sound of water slapping gently against stone mixes with their quiet conversations. The river reflects the clear sky. Dragonflies skim the surface. Small fish ripple the water with tiny waves. A fisherman stands further downstream, casting his net with smooth, practiced motion. He watches the current with calm concentration, waiting for the right moment to pull. Patience is part of the craft, and he enjoys the stillness as much as the catch. Higher up on the hillside, shepherds tend their flocks. The sheep roam lazily, moving like clouds drifting across the green slopes. The shepherds carry long staffs and speak in low tones, guiding their animals without urgency. A soft breeze carries the scent of grass and wild herbs. Inside the settlement, two artisans carve patterns into wood. Their knives slide gently over the grain, creating designs of spirals, animals, and protective runes. Wood shavings fall in quiet curls, gathering around their feet. Their focus is deep, almost meditative. By midday, the sun warms the land, shadows shorten. Children run through the grass, their laughter ringing like bells carried on the wind. Some play near the riverbank, building small dams of stones and sticks. Others chase each other between homes, their footsteps soft and quick. The elders sit beneath a large oak tree, discussing matters with slow deliberation. Their voices blend with the rustling leaves overhead. They speak about hunting routes, harvest predictions, nearby settlements, and the meaning of omens seen in the sky. One elder holds a carved wooden token of the sun. He turns it slowly in his hands as he speaks, the symbol glowing softly in the light. To him, it represents continuity, guidance, and the warmth that connects their people across seasons. Afternoon deepens into a warm, gentle haze. The air carries the scent of herbs drying near doorways. Smoke rises in thin lines from cooking fires. The sound of axes chopping wood at the forest edge echoes faintly, steady and calming. A traveling trader arrives at the settlement just as the sun begins lowering. His cart is filled with pottery, woven cloth, small metal tools, and bright beads made in faraway villages. Children gather eagerly around him, eyes wide with curiosity. Adults greet him and ask about news. Stories of distant tribes, rumors of storms, whispers of gatherings or feasts in nearby valleys. The trader shares tales of strange customs, new settlements forming near the coast, and unusual weather in the south. Each story spreads through the village like a gentle ripple as the light softens into evening gold. Preparations for the night meal begin. Women stir pots over the hearth. The smell of cooked grain and roasted vegetables fills the air. Children gather near the hall before the meal, sitting together and sharing small treats from their baskets. The river glows with reflections of the setting sun. Birds settle into their nests. Goats return to their enclosures. Everything seems to slow down, preparing for nightfall. In the great hall, the fire roars to life. Its warm glow fills the space with flickering light. Shadows dance along the walls in soft patterns. People gather inside, bringing blankets and wooden bowls. They sit close together, breathing in the warmth. A woman plucks her lyre, and the melody drifts through the hall like soft smoke. The notes fall slowly, each one lingering before fading. Children rest their heads on parents' laps. Adults close their eyes, letting the music sink into their bones. Then the elder storyteller stands. The room falls silent, waiting for his voice. He steps into the glow of the fire, his face gently illuminated. He begins speaking in a tone so calm and deep that it feels like part of the fire itself. Tonight, he tells a story about the cycles of the land, how fields must rest after they have given much, how rivers change slowly across generations, how people grow as trees grow, steady, rooted, patient, connected. His words drift through the hall like a warm breeze traveling through tall grass. He speaks of ancestors traveling through forests guided by stars. He speaks of kindness as a strength, not a weakness. He speaks of unity forged in shared work, shared meals, and shared hope. People listen with quiet reverence. Some lean forward, some lean back, some simply close their eyes, letting his voice guide them into deeper rest. When the story ends, the hall remains peaceful. Only the fire's glow and the soft breathing of the gathered people fill the room. Eventually, families begin to rise. They wrap themselves in cloaks and step into the cool night. The sky is clear. Stars shimmer like tiny silver fires scattered across a deep blue canvas. The moon hangs low, casting gentle light on the earth. Footsteps fade. Homes close. Lanterns dim. Inside houses, blankets rustle, and bodies sink into warm beds. Breathing becomes slow and steady. Dreams gather like drifting clouds, and outside, the wind moves softly across the sleeping land, carrying the scent of pine and river water. The Anglo-Saxon settlement rests once again, safe, calm, and cradled by the rhythms of the night. Breathe in slowly, let it fall out like a long, warm sigh. Feel your shoulders loosen, your jaw unclench, and your thoughts drift as gently as evening mist over quiet meadows. Night has embraced the Anglo-Saxon village. Yet in the soft darkness, life continues in calm, unhurried ways. The village seems to exhale after a long day, settling into a rhythm older than memory. Inside one small home, a man sits by the hearth, tending the embers with patient hands. The fire glows a deep orange, sending gentle waves of warmth across the wooden floor. His dog lies curled beside him, asleep but occasionally twitching its paws as if chasing something in a dream. The man watches the fire thoughtfully, listening to the soft crackles that rise and fall like distant whispers. His wife rests on a wool blanket nearby, her eyes half closed as she runs her fingers absent-mindedly through dried herbs. Their scent fills the room, lavender, thyme, and sweet meadow grasses picked earlier in the year. She ties them into small bundles, the fibers brushing softly against her fingertips. Outside, the sky stretches wide and clear. a great canvas of silver stars. The moon hangs low, pale and calming, illuminating the settlement in gentle light. Shadows lie long and soft across the ground, blending with the stillness of night near the cattle pens. A young boy checks on the animals one last time before heading inside. He moves quietly, not wanting to disturb them. The cows shift occasionally, their breath rising and warm. Clouds into the cool air. Their slow movements and steady presence bring him comfort. He pauses near the fence, resting his arms on the top rail, and looks out at the darkened fields. Fireflies dance in small clusters, glowing for moments before fading again. He smiles softly, feeling a peaceful wonder settle over him. Further down the path, a woman steps outside her home, wrapping a cloak around her shoulders. She carries a small wooden bowl of leftover grain, scattering it near the edges of the houses for birds who will arrive at dawn. She listens to the quiet, the distant flow of the river, the murmur of trees shifting ever so slightly in the breeze. She breathes deeply, inhaling the earthy scent of the night, the faint smoke from distant fires, and the clean coolness of early hours. These moments of stillness are her favorite, when the world rests, yet somehow feels alive in a softer way. Inside the great hall, a few villagers remain awake. Not many, just enough to share the end of the evening in quiet companionship. A small fire glows at the center of the hall. Its flames low and gentle point. Two older men sit near it, speaking in hushed tones about the patterns of the seasons, trying to predict whether the winter ahead will be harsh or mild. Nearby, a young woman embroiders a length of cloth. Each stitch is slow, steady, almost meditative. The firelight catches the thread, making it shimmer faintly. She works with a calm focus, adding tiny details to the borders. Spirals, simple, knotwork, tiny symbols meant to bring luck. A traveler who arrived earlier that day sleeps on a bench along the wall, a thin blanket pulled over him. His boots rest neatly beside him. The rhythmic rise and fall of his breathing adds to the hall's peaceful atmosphere. Sitting alone at a wooden table, another woman grinds herbs in a small stone bowl. She mixes a blend meant for soothing aches and calming the body before sleep. Her motions are smooth and practiced. She hums softly to herself, an old tune, passed down from her mother and her mother before that. Beyond the hall, the night deepens. An owl calls in the forest, low, steady, echoing across the trees. Its sound feels ancient, like something that has always belonged to the night. The river flows steadily in the darkness, catching faint traces of moonlight along its surface. Reeds sway lightly at its edges. A frog jumps with a soft splash. Water insects skim the surface in small, delicate patterns. Down by the riverbank, a pair of fishermen quietly check their nets. They move slowly so as not to disturb the fish resting in the deeper parts of the current. The nets glisten faintly, catching beads of moonlit water. After making sure everything is secured, they sit on a flat stone and speak in quiet voices about journeys they dream of taking one day. Visiting coastal markets, meeting sailors from distant lands, seeing strange new fish in unfamiliar waters. As they speak, the breeze stirs again, combing gently through the tall grass. The grass sways like a soft, rolling wave. The sound it makes is almost like a lullaby, subtle, rhythmic, comforting. Back near the settlement's homes, a mother rocks her baby in her arms. She stands near the door for fresh air, letting the cool breeze brush lightly against them. The baby's breathing slows, becoming soft and even. She whispers a quiet melody, her voice blending with the night. Across the village, in a small hut made of wattle and daub, an elder prepares for sleep. He sits on the edge of his straw-filled bed, rubbing warming oil into his hands. He thinks of the stories he has told, the travels he has made, the memories that have guided him through many winters. He feels grateful for warmth, for food, for the gentle company of his people. He lies down slowly, pulling a wool blanket over himself. The blanket is heavy, comforting, holding the warmth of the day's fire. Within minutes, his breathing deepens and he drifts into quiet dreams in another part of the settlement. A group of young adults sits outside, watching the stars. They point at constellations their parents taught them. Shapes of hunters, wolves, ships, trees, and symbols of their gods. Their laughter is soft, more like warm breath carried on the air. They share stories of future hopes, homes they will build, travels they might make, skills they want to master. Eventually, one by one, they rise and head to their homes. There, footsteps are slow, relaxed, unhurried. The settlement grows quieter and quieter until almost no sound remains except the faint rustle of leaves and the soft glow of dying embers far beyond the village. In the deep forest, the trees stand tall and unmoving, their trunks rising like ancient pillars. The forest floor is covered in thick moss that muffles every step. Moonlight filters through the branches, creating shifting patterns of silver. Even the animals here move gently at night, as though respecting the stillness that blankets everything. By the time the darkest hour before dawn arrives, the village is wrapped in complete peace. Every home is quiet. Every fire has softened into dim orange coals. Every person sleeps with the steady rhythm of deep rest. It is in this profound silence, this calm cradle of night, that the Anglo-Saxon world breathes as one body, slow, peaceful, ancient, and unbroken. The night holds the village like a protective hand, and the world waits softly for dawn to return. Let your breath fall into a slow and steady rhythm. Feel the soft weight of relaxation settle across your shoulders, and let the quiet world of the Anglo-Saxons rise gently around you again, like mist drifting over dawnlit fields as the sky begins its pale transition from deep night to the first hint of morning. The Anglo-Saxon landscape lies in a peaceful half-sleep. The world has not yet stirred, everything is calm, suspended in the delicate moment between night and day, down in the village. The first faint light touches the thatched rooftops, glimmering quietly across dew-soaked reeds. The tiny droplets shine like scattered pearls in the grass, forming patterns only nature understands. A slight breeze moves through the settlement, brushing around each home with soft, careful steps. Inside one of these homes, a woman awakens long before others. She does not rise abruptly. Instead, she remains still for a few breaths, listening to the quiet within the walls. Her home feels warm from the embers that survived the long night. The gentle glow of the hearth paints warm, wavering shadows on the wooden beams overhead. She stirs the embers, coaxing them back into small flames. The fire answers her with a friendly crackle, sending a cozy warmth through the room. She places a clay pot above the rekindled flames, filling it with water gathered from the river the evening before. As the water warms, she prepares barley for the morning meal. Her movements are slow and deliberate, not rushed. She respects the quiet of the early hours. Across the room, her husband sleeps peacefully, wrapped in his wool blanket. She glances at him with quiet affection, remembering how the two of them arrived in this village many years ago as strangers, seeking a new life after leaving their old homeland behind. Outside, the village begins to slowly wake. A rooster calls from one of the distant pens, his voice echoing through the cool morning air. The sound shakes small birds into motion. Sparrows flutter from their nests within the thatched roofs, chirping softly as they glide into the early light. A boy emerges from his home, rubbing sleep from his eyes barefoot. He walks toward the communal well, carrying a simple wooden bucket. The path beneath his feet is cool and smooth, shaped by countless footsteps over the years. He pauses halfway to stretch, arching his back with a yawn, his breath forming a faint mist in the cold morning air. Reaching the well, he lets the bucket descend, listening to the hollow splash as it breaks the water's surface far below. He draws it up again, water spilling over the sides, glistening in the morning light. On his way back, he admires the traces left by night creatures, fox tracks, small trails made by mice, faint outlines where a hedgehog wandered in search of food. In another part of the settlement, two brothers lead their small herd of goats out of their pen. The goats bleat softly, eager for the fresh grass waiting beyond the village. The brothers speak to them in gentle tones, guiding them toward the open field. The grass there is still wet with dew, dampening the goats' hooves and leaving dark trails where they pass nearby. A group of women gather outside the great hall. They begin their day with weaving and mending, settling onto benches with baskets of wool at their feet. They spin thread with a calm, practiced rhythm, the spindle twirling slowly, the thread pulling out smooth and even. Their quiet conversation blends with the soft rustling of wool fibers. One of the younger women hums a slow tune, something her mother used to sing. The melody drifts into the air like a gentle breeze, adding warmth to the morning. Inside the hall, a few men discuss plans for the day. They study the sky through the open doorway, searching for hints of weather. Their voices are low and thoughtful, rising and falling like the murmur of a distant stream. Today, some will work the fields. Others will mend fences or help shape wooden plows. A few will travel to a nearby village to trade wool and pottery for iron tools. The day will unfold as simply and predictably as countless days before it. And yet, there is a deep beauty in that simplicity. Across the fields, sunlight slowly spreads across the earth that it touches rows of crops. Wheat, barley, beans, vegetables, casting long shadows that shrink as the sun climbs higher. The smell of damp soil rises into the air, mixing with the fragrance of early blossoms and wild herbs growing at the edges of the fields. Along the riverbank, fishermen inspect the nets they set the previous evening. Some are empty. Others wiggle with the small movements of fish caught overnight. They speak softly, laughing occasionally at shared jokes or quiet observations about the river. A thin mist hovers over the water, swirling as the breeze nudges it gently toward the open meadows. The fishermen close their eyes for a moment, enjoying the peaceful sound of water sliding over rocks in a secluded corner of the settlement. An elder sits in front of his home, warmed by the morning sun. His white hair glows faintly in the light. He runs his fingers slowly over the carvings on his wooden staff. Symbols representing stories his father once told him. Two children approach him with curious eyes. They sit beside him without words, waiting for a story. He smiles softly, understanding their unspoken request. He begins speaking in a calm, steady voice. He tells them about the first settlers of their people, those who crossed the sea in long wooden ships. He describes how the wind filled their sails, how the waves guided them to the shores where their homes now stand. His words drift into the morning air like warm smoke, wrapping the children in a sense of wonder. The children listen with round eyes, imagining the old days, giant oaks, thick forests, long journeys, and brave decisions that shaped the world they know. Near the center of the village, a young man sharpens a tool with rhythmic motions. The sound of metal against stone is soft but steady. He pauses occasionally to look around, admiring the way sunlight filters between the trees. He likes mornings like these, calm, predictable, full of quiet purpose at the same time. A mother sits with her baby on a small woven mat. She rocks the child gently, humming a lullaby even though the baby is wide awake. The tune is slow and soothing, repeating in a comforting loop. The baby watches her with wide, curious eyes, reaching occasionally toward the strands of her hair. The hours pass slowly, peacefully. Eventually, the sun climbs high enough to warm every corner of the village. The fields glow with soft gold. Birds chirp softly from the trees. The smoke from hearths rises straight into the sky, forming thin white columns. It is a world held together by rhythm, by tradition, by steady hands, by shared life. As the day continues, the villagers move between their tasks with unhurried purpose. The world around them is quiet, steady, and deeply rooted in the land. Each step, each breath, each small gesture adds another thread to the tapestry of their lives. By midday, the village pulses with gentle activity. But even then, even in the heart of the day, a sense of calm lingers, wrapping everything in a soft, dreamlike glow. for in the Anglo-Saxon world, peace is not just something felt at night. It lives in their mornings, in their work, in their simple joys, and in the quiet bonds that hold their people together. And as the warm sun continues its steady climb across the sky, the village breathes as one, slow, content, unbroken, and beautifully alive. Take a slow breath, hold it gently, and let it fall out like a warm exhale, letting your body sink deeper into rest. Let your mind soften, your thoughts spread out like ripples on a still pond, and allow yourself to drift again into the quiet heartbeat of the Anglo-Saxon world. The sun has passed its highest point and now begins its slow, graceful descent toward the horizon. The golden afternoon light settles across the village like a soft blanket. Shadows stretch long and delicate, touching the earth gently, as though tucking it in for the evening ahead. In the fields, the day's work eases into slower motions. Farmers wipe sweat from their brows, leaning lightly on their wooden tools. The long rows of barley sway in the breeze, shimmering like a sea of gold. Some of the men walk between the crops, checking their growth, feeling the smoothness of the stalks between their fingers, admiring the fullness of the heads of grain. They take pride in the field's health. The earth has been generous. This year, not far away, women gather herbs in woven baskets. The afternoon sunlight illuminates the greens and yellows of the leaves they collect. They pause occasionally to smell the herbs: sage, mugwort, mint, yarrow, each scent soft, earthy, calming. They hum gentle tunes as they work, songs learned from mothers and grandmothers who gathered herbs in this very field before them. A little farther, a group of children chase each other near the streams. Their laughter rises and falls like birdsong. They hop across stones, splash their feet into the cool water, and pick up smooth pebbles to examine. Some of the stones have small, intricate patterns from the flowing stream, and the children spin stories about magical creatures carving them during the night. Above them, a pair of swans glide slowly over the water's surface. Their white feathers catch the afternoon light, creating soft halos of brightness against the calm blue ripple of the stream. The children watch them with wide-eyed wonder before resuming their games. In the village, the men who stayed behind prepare tools for the coming weeks. The blacksmith's hammer taps steadily, never harshly, always with a rhythmic precision that feels almost musical. Each strike echoes softly through the settlement. The metal glows faintly as he shapes it, steam rising as he cools it in water. Nearby, a woodworker sands a newly carved bowl. The motion of his hands is slow and patient. The wooden shavings curl onto the ground like soft ribbons, carrying with them the sweet scent of fresh timber. The great hall, still warm from earlier gatherings, now holds only a few villagers resting on long benches. Some speak in quiet tones about the day's work. Others simply sit, enjoying the comfort of the soft sunlight filtering through the open doorway. One of the tables, a young man practices runic writing on a small wooden plank. His movements are deliberate, careful. Each rune carved is a piece of memory, letters that hold meaning, history, identity. The sound of carving is faint but crisp, adding another gentle layer to the hall's quiet atmosphere. Outside the hall, elders gather in a shaded spot beneath an old tree. The tree is enormous, its branches spreading wide, offering shade that feels cool and restful. They sit on wooden stools and talk about seasons past, each memory drifting into the air like slow-moving clouds. One of them recalls the hardships of a winter long ago. Another tells a story of a great feast held after a particularly good harvest. Their voices are soft, blending perfectly with the rustle of leaves above them. A pair of teenagers sits near the tree's roots, listening with interest. They love these stories not because of the drama within them, but because of the calm sense of continuity they bring. The feeling that life flows naturally from one generation to the next. Farther from the village center, a healer tends to her small garden of medicinal plants. She touches each leaf with familiarity, checking for pests, gently brushing soil around the roots where necessary. She whispers to the plants, speaking to them as if they are old friends. The garden smells of healing: lavender, chamomile, valerian. Each plant a comfort, each one a soft promise of relief for someone in need. On a grassy hill overlooking the village, a shepherd sits while watching over his flock. The sheep graze lazily in the warm afternoon sun, their wool glowing faintly. The shepherd leans back against a large stone, closing his eyes for a few breaths as the gentle breeze brushes against his face. He listens to the soft bleating of the sheep, the distant calls of birds, the quiet rustling of grass. He feels deeply at peace. Nearby, two shepherd dogs rest in the shade, ears flicking occasionally when insects buzz too close. They are calm, yet ready to move if needed, loyal protectors of both the flock and the man who tends them as the afternoon stretches on. The sky begins to shift subtly towards softer shades. Pale blue deepens into muted gold. The air cools just slightly, bringing a refreshing chill to the skin. The scent of grass, earth, and wood smoke blends into a gentle aroma that fills the entire settlement. Inside one of the homes, a family prepares the late-day meal, and a mother stirs a pot of thick soup made from vegetables gathered in the morning. The rich smell fills the room. Comforting and warm, her daughter kneads dough on a wooden table, dusting flour lightly into the it falls like tiny snowflakes, settling on the table on the girl's hands, and on her hair, the father carves slices of dried meat, arranging them neatly as he works. He occasionally glances at his family, smiling with quiet contentment. They talk softly about small things, their animals, the weather, the clothing they are mending. Nothing urgent, nothing heavy. Just simple, gentle life, nearby. The sound of a flute carries through the air, and a young man plays it while sitting on a fallen log near the edge of the forest. His tune is slow, calming, drifting through the trees like a soft wind. Birds respond with small chirps, creating a natural harmony. The forest itself seems alive in a quiet, ancient way. Tall oaks and ash trees stand like silent guardians. Sunlight filters through the canopy in golden shafts that illuminate patches of moss and ferns. Every now and then, a squirrel scampers across a branch or leaps onto the forest floor, blending into the shadows under one tree. A woman gathers fallen nuts and berries into a basket. She pauses often to admire the beauty around her. The way leaves tremble lightly with each breeze, the way light dances across the surfaces of small stones, the way insects hum their soft songs of work and life. The world feels whole, steady, and deeply interconnected as the day gradually leans toward evening. The sky grows richer in color, hints of orange, gold, and rose spread along the horizon. Long rays of sunlight stretch across the land like soft fingers touching every surface with warmth. The villagers begin to finish their tasks and return to their homes. Tools are put away. Animals are led back into pens. Fires are rekindled, and the comforting routines of evening unfold. Children wash their hands and faces, their laughter fading into softer tones as they begin to tire. Parents speak gently, guiding them toward rest. The smells of food, herbs, and wood smoke deepen, creating an atmosphere of comfort that wraps around the settlement like a protective blanket. In the great hall, torches are lit. Their flames flicker with golden light, casting long shadows on the wooden walls. A few people gather to share the last moments of daylight. Together, they speak about the next day's plans, but their voices are soft, unhurried. A bard sits near the central fire. Tuning his small harp, he plucks a few notes, and the gentle sound floats across the hall like drifting feathers. Even those who are tired pause to listen, letting the music ease their minds. Outside, the sun finally dips below the horizon, and the first star pierces the deepening blue point. One by one, more stars appear, forming familiar patterns that have guided generations. The villagers look up at them briefly, feeling the same ancient connection their ancestors felt. a sense that the world is larger, deeper, and filled with quiet wonders. As night begins to fully settle in, the village grows quieter. The final tasks are completed, doors are closed, and fires burn softly within each home. The world becomes still again. The Anglo-Saxon night, full of calm and gentle peace, wraps itself around the land. Within this serenity, sleep begins to take hold, bodies rest, minds drift. The soothing rhythm of another day lived well carries everyone toward deep, restorative dreams. The earth breathes, the people breathe, and the night holds them all with ancient, comforting hands. Let your breath soften again, feel your chest rise gently, and let it fall slowly, like a leaf drifting toward quiet ground. Allow yourself to slip back into the warm, peaceful rhythm of the Anglo-Saxon world, where time moves like a slow river and everything glows with a gentle calm. Evening has now deepened fully. The colors of the sky have faded from warm rose to deep indigo, and stars shimmer like tiny fires scattered across a vast tapestry. The moon is rising, pale, full, and luminous, casting a soft silver glow across the land. It lights the rooftops, the quiet pathways, and the still surfaces of ponds and rivers. The village has shifted into its night rhythm. Inside one of the homes near the edge of the settlement, a family gathers close to the hearth for warmth. The fire crackles softly, glowing with a deep orange hue that wraps the room in comfort. A father sits on a low stool, carving a small wooden figure with gentle strokes. Each movement of his knife is precise but unhurried, guided by years of practice. The wood shavings curl at his feet like tiny ribbons. Across from him, his wife weaves on a small loom. The wooden frame creaks quietly with each motion. Threads of warm earth tone will pass through her hands, forming a patterned fabric that will eventually become a blanket for one of their children. Her movements are rhythmic and soothing, matching the soft cadence of the fire. Their little daughter lies curled on a woolen rug nearby, her head resting on her folded arms. She watches her parents with heavy eyelids, lulled by the gentle sounds of home. She hums a soft tune to herself, something her grandmother taught her at bedtime. The room smells of warm porridge, wood smoke, and freshly spun wool. A sense of peace settles heavily in the air, comforting and familiar. Outside, a group of men finish tending to the livestock for the night. They close the wooden gates of the cattle pens, ensuring everything is secure. The cows settle down in their resting places, emitting occasional low murmurs as they shift their weight. One of the men pats a particularly friendly cow on the neck before heading back toward the village. The goats, already curled together in their shelter, make quiet, sleepy noises. Their soft breaths rise in gentle clouds that drift through the moonlight. The shepherd who watches them smiles faintly, satisfied with the calm that surrounds him. Farther along the path, the healer of the village prepares her nighttime mixtures. She sits under the dim glow of a small oil lamp, grinding herbs with a mortar and pestle in slow circles. Lavender, chamomile, elderflower. Each herb releases its relaxing scent as she combines them. The aroma fills the hut, turning it into a sanctuary of sleep-bringing calm. She pours the blend into small linen pouches that will be used to help soothe headaches, calm the nerves, and ease restless nights. When she finishes, she ties each pouch carefully with twine and places them in a wooden box with great care. Outside her hut, the night insects begin their soft choir. Gentle chirps, rhythmic clicks, and faint hums that blend into a comforting background. The village, illuminated only by the moon and a few dim torches, looks quietly magical near the central hall. A few villagers gather to share stories. A bard plays a slow melody on a lyre, his fingers brushing the strings delicately. The notes float upward like wisps of smoke, weaving into the night air. People listen with eyes half closed, letting the sounds wash over them in warm waves. One of the elders begins telling a story. an old tale about a legendary hero who traveled far across the sea in search of wisdom. But his voice is soft, his pace gentle. The dramatic moments of the tale become calming rather than intense. Even the hero's battles are described like drifting echoes, distant and dreamlike. Listeners lean back against wooden pillars, arms resting loosely on their knees, their minds slipping into that pleasant state between wakefulness and dreaming. Farther beyond the hall, the river glimmers with moonlight. It flows smoothly, without hurry, whispering quietly as it moves around stones and reeds. A pair of older fishermen sit on the riverbank, not to fish, but simply to relax. They speak quietly, reminiscing about days long gone, about youthful adventures, past winters, and the changes they've seen through the seasons. At one point, they fall silent altogether, just listening to the water's soft murmur. The moon's reflection ripples gently across the surface, stretching and fading with each movement of the river. Across the fields, a shepherd guides the last sheep into safety. The flock gathers in a warm cluster, settling down for the night. The shepherd leans against a wooden fence, watching stars appear one by one overhead. He breathes in the cool night air and feels its freshness settle comfortably in his lungs. Nearby, the forest stands dark and still. Tall trees rise like ancient guardians, their branches reaching silently into the sky. Owl calls echo through the woods, soft, distant, carrying a peaceful rhythm. The forest floor is blanketed with soft needles and moss, making every step silent. Creatures of the night move with gentle caution, blending seamlessly into the shadows. Back in the village, another family prepares for rest. A mother spreads a warm blanket across her children as they lie on their straw beds. She sits beside them, brushing their hair with slow strokes. She whispers a small bedtime charm, something simple and loving. May the night hold you in calm. May the moonlight guard your dreams. And may the dawn greet you gently. The children breathe deeply, their small chests rising and falling like waves on a quiet shore. The father dims the oil lamp, and the room falls into a soft gray glow, illuminated only by the faint moonlight slipping through cracks in the wall. And another home. A young couple shares a quiet conversation before lying down to sleep. Their voices are little more than whispers, gentle exchanges about the day's work, hopes for tomorrow, and small moments that brought them joy. Their hands rest lightly. Together, fingers intertwined outside. The fire in the great hall dims to glowing embers. The last few villagers step out into the cool night, stretching their bodies before heading to their homes. The wind carries the scent of pine, smoke, and earth that brushes gently against their cheeks. A final comfort before they retreat inside. As the night deepens, the village becomes completely still. Homes glow faintly from the last remaining embers in their hearths. Smoke rises in thin, ghost-like lines into the sky before dispersing into the darkness. The moon sits high now, bathing the entire settlement in silver light. It touches every roof, every field, every animal, every sleeping soul with soft brilliance. The world here feels safe, encompassing, tender. This is a night without tension, without storm, without fear. Everything breathes slowly, everything rests. Everything feels exactly as it should be. In this deep peace, the Anglo-Saxon world drifts into a collective sleep, warm, quiet, full of gentle dreams shaped by earth, tradition, and the soft lullabies of nature. And as you listen to this moment from far away, you too drift closer to rest, closer to warmth, closer to soft, quiet dreams. The night holds you. The world softens. Sleep comes like a slow tide, steady and calm. Take another slow breath, let it move gently in, and let it fall out like a warm, soft sigh. Feel your body sinking deeper into stillness, as though the world itself is inviting you to rest. Night has reached its quietest hour in the Anglo-Saxon village. The moon hangs high in the vast sky, serene and undisturbed, illuminating everything with a pale silver glow. The air is cool and refreshing, wrapping softly around the settlement like a thin blanket of calm. Inside one of the homes, a young man lies, awake on his straw bed, not from discomfort, but from a peaceful restlessness. He listens to the faint crackle of the remaining embers in the hearth. He hears the gentle breathing of his family, each breath slow and steady. The room is warm, faintly glowing, filled with the comforting scent of smoldering wood. He closes his eyes and imagines the stories he has heard throughout his life. Stories of ancestors who traveled across seas, of guardians who watched over the forests, of traditions whispered from one generation to the next. His mind drifts between memory and imagination, slowly blending them into a dreamlike haze. Outside his home, an older woman steps out into the cool night air. She wraps a woolen shawl around her shoulders and looks up at the sky. The constellations sparkle clearly, shapes she has known since childhood. She smiles softly, feeling the deep familiarity of the stars, the eternal companions of all travelers and all dreamers. A soft breeze stirs the grass around her feet. It carries the scent of the river, fresh and pure. She breathes it in deeply, feeling her chest expand and relax. The night, she thinks, has a kind of magic that daylight never touches nearby. A small group of men sit around a low fire outside the hall. They sit not for warmth, but simply to enjoy the moment. The flames are low, the sparks floating upward in slow spirals before disappearing into the darkness. Their conversation is quiet, gentle memories of childhood mischief, distant journeys, and the strange dreams they've had. Their voices soften more and more as the night deepens. Eventually, they lapse into comfortable silence, simply listening to the sounds around them, the crackling of the fire, the whisper of wind brushing through the trees, the occasional hoot of an owl perched high above. Closer to the forest, the healer steps outside her hut with a small clay bowl of smoldering herbs. The smoke rises slowly, scented with calming plants that she burns as a nightly ritual: lavender, mugwort, and dried blossoms from her summer harvest. She waves her hand gently to spread the aroma through the air. The scent drifts through the village, weaving its way into homes, blankets, and dreams. She murmurs a quiet blessing. Not a spell, but a gentle wish for rest, peace, and protection for anyone who breathes the calming smoke that up on a small hill. A shepherd keeps a quiet watch over his flock. The sheep rest in clusters, their wool bright under the moonlight. He leans back against a large stone, letting his eyes grow heavy as he listens to the slow breathing of his animals. The night insects around him create a soft chorus. Steady, soothing, almost rhythmic, he closes his eyes for a moment. Enjoying the harmony of nature, he thinks about his life, his work, and the silent simplicity of nights like this. Everything feels grounded, peaceful, timeless. By the river, the water reflects the moon like a shimmering mirror. The surface ripples gently, creating patterns that shift and melt into one another. A pair of ducks sleep near the reeds, heads tucked safely under their wings. The sounds of the river, soft trickles, faint taps against stones, create a melody that blends beautifully with the rest of the night. Further from the river, in a small clearing by the forest's edge, a group of young people sit around another small fire. They share whispered stories about legends, ancient spirits, forest guardians, and heroic ancestors. But their voices are soft, almost like they're speaking directly into the stillness. The stories are not frightening here. They're soothing, comforting, part of a heritage woven gently into the fabric of their lives. One of the young men plays a soft melody on a small wooden flute. The tune is slow and melodic, rising and falling like gentle waves. The sound travels through the clearing, drifting through the branches above, echoing faintly through the fields as the melody continues. Even the animals seem to listen. The distant horses shift quietly in their sleep. The The dogs lying near their owners lift their heads briefly before returning to their dreaming rest. Inside one of the homes near the center of the village, an elderly man sits up in bed. He reaches for a small wooden cup of water beside him and takes a slow sip. The coolness helps calm his mind. He listens to the silence around him, the deep, comforting silence of a world at peace. He thinks about the stories he has told throughout his life. He imagines children sitting around him, wide-eyed and curious, listening to tales of long journeys, ancient battles, and spirits of the land. The memory warms him, filling him with a soft pride. He lies back down, pulling the blanket up to his chest. He closes his eyes with the peaceful knowledge that his stories will live on long after he is gone. Back near the great hall, a young mother rocks her baby. She hums a lullaby with a voice so gentle it feels like a breeze. The baby's eyelids flutter as sleep settles in. She strokes the child's hair, her movements slow and loving. The lullaby carries out into the night, barely louder than a whisper. Yet it seems to ripple through the village with a calming grace as the night approaches its darkest hour. The moment before dawn begins to stir. The entire settlement is wrapped in a profound stillness. Homes glow softly with the fading warmth of dying fires. Smoke rises lazily into the night sky. The pathways between houses lie empty, silvered by moonlight. Trees stand motionless, like ancient statues, carved from shadow and light. Every person in the village breathes slowly, evenly. Every animal rests. Even the air seems to pause, floating gently over the resting earth. Time feels thick, slow, almost suspended. Above, clouds drift silently across the sky, scattering moonlight into soft shapes across the land. A falling star streaks briefly across the horizon, disappearing as gently as it arrived, and no one sees it. But the moment adds to the quiet magic of the night. The Anglo-Saxon world sleeps, held by tradition, by nature, by the comforting rhythm of life itself. And as you listen to the soft stillness of their night from far away, your own breath slows, your muscles loosen. Your mind becomes light, drifting like a leaf floating down a calm river. The night welcomes you into the same peace, into the same rest, into the same deep, quiet dreams. Let your breath melt into a quiet rhythm, slow, warm, unhurried. Feel your thoughts drift like soft mist over an ancient meadow, and allow yourself to sink fully into this last gentle journey through the Anglo-Saxon world. The darkest hour of night has passed, and the first hints of dawn gather in the distance. The sky remains deep blue, but along the horizon a soft, pale glow begins to spread, so faint at first that it blends almost seamlessly into the darkness. But it is there, a whisper of morning, a promise of light. The Anglo-Saxon village lies wrapped in a blanket of profound stillness. Every home is quiet. Every ember glows softly in its hearth. Every living being rests in deep, undisturbed peace. Inside one small home, an elderly woman wakes slowly, as she always does, gentle and calm. Like a leaf stirred by a breeze, she sits at the edge of her bed, letting her feet touch the cool dirt floor. The silence comforts her. She has known this silence her entire life. She closes her eyes briefly, remembering the sounds of her childhood, the same birds, the same winds through the same trees. Unchanged through the decades, she stands and moves to the fire pit. The embers glow faint orange, ready to be rekindled. She adds a few pieces of dry wood and watches as the flames rise up with a warm sigh, filling the room with light. In another home, a man turns in his sleep. His breathing is slow, deep, steady. The soft glow of the dying fire touches his face, smoothing the lines of age and work. His dreams are simple, fields of golden grain, warm sunlight on the back of his hands, distant laughter of those he loves. Near the center of the village, a young woman wakes before dawn. She stretches her arms, feeling the sleep leave her limbs in warm waves. She steps outside into the cool air, wrapping her cloak tightly around her. Her breath forms tiny clouds before dissolving. She gazes upward. The stars are beginning to fade, but some remain, watching, quiet, ancient, that a sense of deep peace fills her chest as she listens to the soft hum of the world preparing for day. Down near the riverbank, a fisherman sits on a stone, waiting for the first light. He doesn't fish at this hour. He simply enjoys the peaceful moment before dawn. The river moves with a steady whisper, brushing gently against the banks. The air feels different now, cooler, fresher, infused with the promise of morning. He dips his hand into the water. It is cold, refreshing, grounding. He closes his eyes and listens, really listens, to the harmony of nature. The soft shifting of water, the faint stirrings of wind in the reeds, the distant call of an early bird back in the village. The animals begin to wake. A cow shifts in her pen, releasing a deep, sleepy breath. A dog stretches, paws reaching forward, tail flicking once before curling back into a ball. Chickens shuffle softly on their roosts, feathers rustling like brushed silk. Slowly, gently, the village begins to breathe again. I in the great hall, the bard, who fell asleep beside the fire, stirs awake. He opens his eyes slowly, letting the soft morning glow seep into his vision. The hall is empty, but the silence is comforting, filled with the quiet echoes of stories and songs. He sits up, stretching lazily. His lyre rests beside him, strings still lightly trembling from the cooling air. He picks it up and plucks a few soft notes, just enough to greet the morning. The sound is delicate, drifting upward like morning mist. On a grassy hill overlooking the village, the shepherd watches as darkness loosens its hold on the land. His flock is still asleep, white shapes resting in soft clusters. He pulls his cloak tighter and settles back against a tree. He has always loved this hour, the gentle space between dream and day. It feels sacred, untouched, unbroken. The light on the horizon grows stronger. A faint line of gold appears against the deep blue sky. It stretches slowly, gently, illuminating the tops of distant trees. Birds begin to stir. First one, then another, then dozens. Their calls are soft at first, like tentative greetings, but soon they weave together into a gentle morning chorus. The village glows faintly under this early light. Thatch roofs shimmer with dew. Smoke begins to rise from a few chimneys as households rekindle their fires. Doorways brighten with soft golden reflections. Inside her home, the old woman pours warm water into a wooden bowl. She washes her face, feeling the warmth spread across her skin. She smiles to herself, grateful for another morning nearby. A man steps outside with his young son. The boy rubs his eyes, still sleepy, but he holds his father's hand tightly. Together they stand in silence, watching the sunrise. The father rests a hand on his son's shoulder, gentle, loving, steady. The sun breaks over the horizon. Light spills across the land in a slow, graceful wave. The trees glow with amber radiance. The river turns gold. The fields shimmer with tiny sparks of dew. The entire world brightens like a deep breath drawn in after a long night. And the Anglo-Saxon village begins its day calm, warm, peaceful. People emerge from their homes, embracing the soft sunlight. Women gather water. Men prepare tools. Children chase each other quietly, their laughter gentle in the cool air. But even as life begins to move again, the night's peace remains, lingering like a soft memory. It settles on shoulders, rests in hearts, and travels with every step. This world, simple, steady, warm, carries an ancient rhythm, a rhythm that has guided generations, a rhythm that connects them to the earth, to the sky, to each other. And now, as this final part draws to a close, that same rhythm gently wraps around you as well. Feel the calm of their morning settle into your body. Feel the warmth of their fire glow in your chest. Feel the softness of their world ease your mind. You carried their night with you, and now they share their dawn with you. Let your breath float softly. Let your thoughts quiet completely and drift, with the Anglo-Saxons, into peaceful, grounding stillness. the story is complete, but its calm remains with you, guiding you gently toward deep, restful sleep.